I share this. Feels like I should be able to share this with a group. I thought it said I could do that. No. This is dumb.
Well, I should have, it's taking a little bit longer. I should have gone ahead and done it
Oh.
before.
Hey everybody, do you hear me? For those of you who are tuning in, do I sound like I'm on old time radio?
Wouldn't old time be like way more tinny and
I kind of went like this. That's a little bit more old time radio.
can you do the helicopter sound where you hit your chest and
Okay, somebody hears me. Awesome. All right. Hey guys, I can't seem to share this. Could you guys share it? It's public. I want to share it with the NESMaker group, but I can't. I don't have a share control.
see if I can do it?
So if you guys could share it with your pages or whatever, you know, it should be on the New Heroes page. So hey, guess what? It is 8 minutes past 8 on 8/8/18, and we are checking in as the new 8-bit heroes with the first public demonstration of NESMaker. The actual first official release that a lot of you are going to get an activation code any minute now to is version 4.0. So I don't know exactly how long it's going to take. For you guys who back this on Kickstarter, you guys should be automatically getting an activation code. It should show up in your inbox at any time. If you pre-ordered it, we have to one by one put in your emails and assign them and send you the license. So that's going to take us a few more hours, possibly even gasp tomorrow, but we will get those out as soon as possible. And if you are brand new to this and want to check out the new 8-bit heroes and NESMaker, if you go to www.thenew8bitheroes.com, I believe the new site is up, Austin?
63%.
We are almost up. So we are uploading this zip file for NESMaker right now.
70, 74.
The new page is almost up if you just give it a minute. So some of you said that we'd be late in delivering this today, and I guess you guys won the bet because we are 3 minutes late. So I apologize for that. But yeah. So so I don't want to take up a lot of time. Before we get into NESMaker, while people are joining us, I want you guys to see some of the beta games that people made, and I'm blown away by some of these. They're so cool. They took the concepts that we showed them in the tutorials for the beta tutorials, and they completely took off with them. They did things that we didn't expect, and they're really fun games. And you got to keep in mind, this was the beta version of the software. While they were learning the software, created in a matter of weeks. I mean, if this is what the beta backers could do with those tight constraints, imagine what we're going to be able to do with the full software. That's the cool thing. So I'm going to show you these, and a lot of these they look very different, and they're functionally very much the same. We're going to talk about this over and over again because people are going to keep joining us. The version of NESMaker that you get today, the one that you're going to download, has very minimal amount of scripts associated with it. Okay, we are going to, over the next 6 weeks, roll out mini modules of different kinds of games because we want to show you how to integrate them into the tool. We want you to get comfortable with that. That's how this tool is going to grow, and that's how we're going to be able to build really unique experiences, your own unique games, and really understand how to realize your vision. Much better than the tutorial videos where we just blasted something out at you and you created exactly what we created and then just changed the graphics. No, we sort of want to teach you to fish rather than give you a fish. So over the next 6 weeks, we're going to roll out a series of mini tutorials with code and show you how to integrate it and show you how to work it in. And the idea is that you guys are going to synthesize the information and then make this tool do what it is that you want it to do. Okay. So if you get this and you're like, well, that's all NESMaker can do. No, it's not at all. NESMaker runs whatever the engine code underneath is. NESMaker is the organizational tool that helps you put it all together. NESMaker can do anything that the NES can do for a Unrom mapper, a Mapper 30 cartridge, which is a lot of stuff. Okay, so it's gonna feel very simple. We're gonna sort of ease you guys in, let you step into the water, but by the end of the 6 weeks, you should have a ton of skills with this. All right. So without further ado, let's take a look at some of these beta games. I'm just going to go down the list. We were playing them last night. These are a lot of fun. I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit so we don't get horrible feedback loop. Let's take a look at Cursed Bushido. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah. So we're going to, I like the music, really fun. And by the way, for those of you guys seeing Made with NESMaker, yep. For those of you who see the Made with NESMaker logo, you don't have to include that at all. Some people just did that because they wanted to sort of pay homage to the software and thank you as a thank you. You don't have to do that. That was just really cool. Some people did that for these beta games. So this is Cursed Bushido, and I've got my controller backwards. I gotta fix that. I'm playing this with a controller hooked up to my USB. In fact, I'm going to fix this right now. I've got the input backwards here. My B button should be that. My A button should be...
Under what circumstances would you have it split?
Or maybe that's the way he set it up. No, that's the way he set it up. So the controls are B is jump and A is shoot. Yep. So ladder physics working. And if you notice the top of the screen, scores working. I'm not sure. I didn't read the story as much as I should have. So this is somebody's first game. I mean, it looks like a NES game, it really does. Yeah, the projectiles are really cool. The projectiles observe gravity. That wasn't even something we covered in the platform tutorial. I might have mentioned it, but it was really cool to see somebody sort of take that on. Ooh. Oh, those are spikes up there. I don't know if I can go left or not. Oh, I can go left. Ah! So, again, this is somebody's... I think this was his second game. He had done a little top-down game as well. I don't think I can walk on that. I think that's a... Oh, you know what that is? That's a continue. So if I die, I'm going to continue there. Let's test that. I'm pretty sure because I showed how to do the sound effect. Let's take a look if I die. So my health. Let's let this guy kill me. So, let's see, do I start at that continue spot? Yeah. Oh man, that was cheap. Did you see that? As soon as I dropped it on the bad guy. So, I gotta turn the volume down just a little. Sorry guys. Is that better? All right. So that's desktop audio down a lot there. Hopefully that's a little bit better here. Let's take a look at Eternal Prelude. I believe this one has a soundtrack, but they didn't actually implement the soundtrack yet into the game. There's some videos of them playing it. It's absolutely gorgeous. But let's take a look at this. This is a really cool style. Yeah, I mean the visual style on this is just phenomenal.
Now you said you'd seen
in the
enemies in this, but
I mean,
that animated
yeah,
waterfall
look at what they
is
did with the waterfall.
dynamite.
And we haven't even, this is a perfect example of what the beta backers were able to do. We didn't even introduce animated tiles in these tutorials, right? He just figured out a good way to do it using objects. And so that's really neat that people were able to take what they learned and sort of synthesize it. And that's what we're hoping that everybody is able to end up doing. Let's see. Like your you have marrow, health and marrow. Marrow is like your score, I guess.
At some point, the marrow is sucked out of your life. Something. No, wait. If health is so, what's marrow? If health is.
This is quite a maze. I don't know where I'm going. All right, but I love, also like. Now my voice is too low. Okay. Yeah. So turn my voice back up. All right. So really neat graphic use here. Like the animation's great. I love the having the image up here in the HUD.
Yeah,
I like that.
Head
yeah.
icon. That's great.
So we'll have to explore this a little bit more, but I know a lot of people are anxious to get to NESMaker too. So I want to go through a couple more of these. Game 0527. It might have been the date. I don't know. Oh, the turtle rescue game! Yeah, this is great. I love this one. This is just cute. So this is using the music that I provided, sort of the beta music that I provided, and that's going to be in the tutorial pack that you get too. But yeah, no, I really like this game. This is really fun. I like it because you're not killing people. You're trying to survive. So I'm blocked by that garbage can there. Oh, crab got me. You're trying to survive, you're not trying to kill anything. Even though you do, I guess, kill the crabs. Just fascinating stuff. I mean, really clever. I mean, look at the difference between...
I love the gradations in the sand.
In the sand, yeah.
He's got a lot of texture there.
Killed me again.
Those chairs are dynamite.
Yeah. And just how different this game feels and looks.
Grass.
It feels and looks so much different than the game that we were just looking at, even though, generally they're very similar as far as the mechanics.
But it's easy to get hung up on the limitations of the NES, but when you put, when you have different artists,
well, did you see that? That's really neat. Again, that's something that we never talked about how to add a text box in those tutorials. So
yeah, people are obviously finding.
Oh,
there's the raccoon. Oh my god, that's incredible.
I got the eggs.
Uh-oh.
Think the windscreen. I'm pressed to press something. Let's take a look at Mermaid's Den. So this is a really fascinating take. This is actually a top-down game,
right?
But it's set up as a side scroller. The way that he used the
physics.
Yeah, the physics. So I think this is one of the more polished ones. I mean, this is really neat. What I like about it is it's really unique as far as the flowiness of the movement.
Well, he's getting a really amazing sort of almost a fake 3D thing going on with that fish movement.
Yeah,
I mean, that really looks like it's wiggling towards you.
And
shooting clay.
what this feels like? This feels like the water, the dam level in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, for sure.
That's honestly what this feels like, and it's just as obnoxious.
Can you shoot in 8 directions? You're able to aim?
Yep.
Yeah, that's nice. You have one treasure.
And I'm sorry, I think the guy who did the music, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I think it was Cutter Across. That's what he goes by. And he did music for a couple of these games. That's phenomenal. And he's, I can't wait for him to actually know the limitations and play with it, because I know he wasn't part of the beta, but he's going to be able to produce some really great music. I mean, this is a gorgeous score.
Yes, absolutely.
And it suggests the sort of underwater adventure. Ah!
This boss trips me out. Love that. Oh, you can shoot his nose off?
Yeah.
How did you realize that when we were looking at it last night? That's amazing.
All right, got rid of that boss.
This person wants to know, can you do smooth scrolling like SMB3 with NESMaker, or is it one screen at a time? I know this was something that has been asked.
Yes. Again, the best answer to all of those questions that are similar to the one you just asked about the scrolling, NESMaker can do anything that the NES can do within the memory constraints and within Mapper 30's constraints, which is a pretty advanced mapper.
Boss, look at that.
Yeah.
Like a
Skull. It's a pirate skull with a yeah. Yes, we actually have a basic horizontal scrolling engine that we were showing off. It's just a simple horizontal scroller like the original Super Mario Brothers. It was still a little bit buggy, but you know, again, we're going to show you in the tutorial section of today how you can implement, you know, how the code base is going to keep growing and growing. Being able to scroll is not a limit of NESMaker. NESMaker doesn't have a limit like that. Now, you may or may not have the module code that can scroll, or maybe it hasn't been developed yet, or there's a better one that's soon to be developed or whatever. But we're going to show you how you can, create those codes and access those codes. So it's kind of a hard question to answer. Can NESMaker do scrolling? The answer is neither yes nor no. NESMaker is the organizational tool that handles the assembly data underneath. If there is a scrolling engine constructed, then yes, NESMaker can do scrolling. By default, what you're going to get today does not have scrolling capability. However, if you look at the videos on our Facebook group, you'll see a horizontal scrolling one featured. It's just a really simple one showing a proof of concept. We're going to dig a lot more into that because we want the scrolling engine to be a lot more versatile. And that's really tough to make it versatile. You're dealing with a very limited amount of memory, and we don't have an engine that can do just one thing, which is what a lot of the NES games did. They did one thing, and they had to, they put all of their energy into doing that one thing really well. Ours has to do everything. Ours has to do a lot of different things.
We have a question. What site has the NESMaker software on it? The new 8bitheroes.com, the normal website. It should be updated right now. You can purchase the activation code on the front page, and when you enter the site, there's the link to download the software.
You will not know how to use it. It is not intuitive quite yet. The tutorials that are online, some of them will work great, and some of them won't work at all. So we want to make sure that's what we're getting to. If you're watching this now, we're giving. Yeah.
Man, these are great.
Oh, I died.
No music. Oh, you died.
We're going to, we want to make sure that people who are joining us have the time to meet up with us. That's why we're showing these games first. And I want people to see what, these people have put a lot of work into these, and they're really cool. And these were people who had no experience doing assembly programming. Some of them learned assembly programming as they went. Super cool to see. This is probably the most polished, even though the graphics are simple. This is a really neat game. Just from I
like how the start screen is a story screen as well.
Sure.
This absolutely sells the premise of the adventure.
Mm-hmm. And it's just a square, a square block. And
weren't you saying that he figured out how to do this palette cycling of the start?
So I'm going to guess, because I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to guess that this is a monster object that's animating between different palettes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's I'm guessing that's what's happening there, because we haven't talked about how to do fades and things like that. So let's take a look at this one, because this one's a blast to play. This is so it looks really simple. But even though I say it looks really simple, look at the background. That background is killer. Look at the HUD text, I mean, it's a simple, like that, like the level 1, that's such a great detail.
To answer your question, Jason, this is what we're showing is different games that people have already created using the beta. And as you can see, there's wildly different uses of graphics. There's just no end to the kinds of games that can be made with this.
That's ammo.
The code should be going out any moment now.
They said they said they were going to put it out at 8/8/18. Check for an email from us or Softworks. Make sure it's not going to your junk mail folder. Oh man, out of ammo.
Unless you pre-ordered it through Tricelery,
yes.
In which case we have to send those out manually.
We'll
be doing that very shortly.
If you were part of the Kickstarter, you will automatically be getting the license code. It'll come to you. It should come any minute now. If you pre-ordered from our website after the Kickstarter ended, it might take a little bit more time. Might take.
We need to turn up the audio on our mic.
I don't on the mic.
Yeah.
Me.
Well,
check. I can get a little bit closer to talk. I can't turn the.
I'm not standing standing anywhere near the thing.
Oh, that's probably why. Yeah.
He's talking to me.
So, I mean, you know, for such a simple game, this is actually a lot of fun to play, and you know, challenging
I dig
and
the puzzle of this, and we were talking about how intuitive what it's communicating in terms of things that are safe, things that are not. You know, the sort of graphic syntax of, you know, if you find this key, this door will unlock. I mean, this game is really
okay, it's really neat. Let's take a look at the survival horror game.
Oh yeah,
this is so different. You wake up in a dark basement, and there's no music to this. It's just totally 8-bit creep-tastic. And you know, again, look at the visual aesthetic of this compared to the other ones that we looked at. You know, it's completely different. It uses a similar mechanic, but it is completely
so atmospheric.
different.
Look at the lightning in the window. That is brilliant. And again, you know,
that's without animated tiles.
Yeah,
same thing with these candles. That's using animated object, not animated tiles. We hadn't introduced animated tiles yet. So let's see what's in here. Oh, the kitchen knives. That's great. The killer turkey. And I died.
Oh, I love that turkey.
Let's I want to go the other way. So let's.
Man, the texture on that floor is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring to see what people are doing with this. Oh my God, is that supposed to be you? Is that like a creepy version of you? Or?
And look how they did that. Like they made
story screen.
So for those of you who are asking, can you make cutscenes? The answer is we didn't show anybody how to make any cutscenes in the beta. That wasn't a thing. Yet here we go. If he had put some text up here, here's a cutscene. You know, and it serves exactly like a cutscene. He found a clever way to use a warp tile to create a cutscene. So, you know, one of the things about saying whether or not this can do cutscenes or not, yeah, it can do anything that the NES can do. I keep trying to say that. However, what Dragon Warrior did for cutscenes was completely different than what Ninja Gaiden did for cutscenes, which is much different than Tecmo Bowl did for cutscenes. So it means, you know, something different.
Yeah, one of the things you'll learn as you dig into this, you'll gain a whole new appreciation for how clever some of those games were working within those constraints and finding ways to really bend what was possible. Oh my God, I didn't see him do that yesterday.
That's creepy.
That's awesome.
And the library with the books flying. That's really
books.
neat. Yeah.
That is amazing.
This is killer. I love it. I love it. One of the the teddy. I think this is where the baby is.
Oh yeah.
That is terrifying.
And this was all through the tutorial. This was just, you know, make a boss, okay. And this was
I died. All right, so let's take a look at the last one, which is the forest. This was very heavily inspired by X-Files and Twin Peaks for sure. This was a test to see if he could meet the I had a bunch of challenges, like, can you make a game that does this? Can you make a game that does that? And this was his attempt to meet those challenges.
I love his walk cycle and the sort of cartoony scale of him. You know, how he's like, you know, his body is 2/3 and his legs are 1/3. That's not something you normally see. Is he shooting donuts?
Maybe.
I think he's shooting donuts. That is
I think he is shooting donuts. That's incredible. Oh man, you know what? I can't kill that guy. That's clever. I have to wait for him to drop the watch. He's gonna drop a key. Now I can get that, and that's the only way I can get through.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting. Very clever.
These pine trees are really clutch.
This is a one-death game. Oh! Nice. I can get the key. He is throwing donuts because I remember what the ending is.
Oh, right.
Remember what the ending is?
Yes.
He's absolutely throwing donuts. I'm stuck. So the collision detection didn't match up.
That's an issue, yeah.
Anyway,
look at that boss, man.
That's
so cool.
Tremendous. So that's just a look at a couple of the betas and the games that they were able to create in just a matter of a couple of months. It's truly phenomenal stuff. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to create something using the public version of NESMaker that is now available on our website. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a moment before we get started to grab a frosty beverage because I know I'm going to be talking a lot for the next hour and showing you how this works.
Just heard them come in the door. I'll bring you.
But I just heard my beautiful, supportive, wonderful wife come through the door with a few beers, and that is just a wonderful sound from every position. All right, so we're gonna be posting this back up on our Facebook, and if this doesn't happen to record, I will do this again and put it up on YouTube as well. Hopefully it does record, though. I've got it set to record, so let's hope. So this is what you will get, a folder that looks like this. Before we open it up, I do want to say a couple of things. We are a very small team of developers, for those of you who don't know. It is very possible that there's going to be a lot of bugs and problems and issues with this software, and we're going to continue to iron them out as we go. We managed to find a lot of bugs. There's a lot of features that aren't yet implemented, but we got a really good start. To the features that we wanted to. We've built in the module system, which allows us to create these different genres of games now, and we're going to look at that a little bit. This is in no way a complete version of the tool, but as you just saw, those were games that were made with the beta, and it's come a long way since the beta. So, just looking at those, if you consider the catalog of NES games, where those sit, definitely in the top half as far as quality as a beta for first-time users. So that's something to consider. And if you don't believe me, just look at the NES catalog and jump to about game 400 as far as quality, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, let's dig into the tool. So when you
Will
get
new tutorials be uploaded to YouTube after? Absolutely.
I'm hoping that this is recording. If it's not, I'm going to do this all over again for YouTube. Okay, I want to post this directly to YouTube, and it'll also be posted on the website. But in case this isn't recording or something goes wrong, don't worry. We're going to have endless tutorials. I don't expect anyone to be able to jump right in and use this tool. Absolutely not. It's going to take some time. That's why we're going to roll out the tutorials. If you go to www.thenew8bitheroes right now, and you go to the tools page where you can download this, you'll actually see what our schedule is. Over the next 6 weeks, we're going to implement different modules for you to test out the code and see how it works and see how to integrate it. And we're going to give you the code too. You download a pack, you open up the program, you load in a module, you load the folder into the right place, and you're good to go. And we'll look at that in a minute. But yeah, so we don't, I don't expect anyone to be able to open this up and be able to use it tonight, even if you watch this tutorial right now, because I'm going to move pretty fast. But over the next 6 weeks, we're going to lead up to a big contest that we're going to start in October. So when you open it up, you guys are going to probably see for the first time a little button that says activate. You're not going to see anything else. When you see the activate button, all you have to do is go to activate, and it's going to prompt you to put in the email that you registered with, your activation code, and then you are going to create your password. That's for managing your license. You're going to look at that and it's going to say password. You're going to be like, I don't know my password. No. It's not asking you for your password. It's asking you to create a password. And I'm sorry if that's confusing, but email that you registered with, your activation code, and then enter the password that you want to be your password. Okay. And then you can go to Softworks with a Z, softworkz.com to manage your license. And that should all be in the email that you get. Once you enter that, it's going to say, thanks for activating. And you might still see the activate button up here until you open the project up and open the software up again. But you're activated. If you see this stuff, you're good to go. You're activated.
Now, as new versions come out, that same activation code is what you're always going to use. You will only ever have one.
That's correct. So if I were to say to you, hey, there's a new version out, go to the website and download the new version, don't worry, your activation code's still good. In fact, you don't even need to reactivate it. As long as it's on your computer, the activation code, it'll see your computer, registers with your computer ID. That said, you can register 2 computers. All right. So if you need to unregister a computer, it's actually got to go through us, as we found out. You can't manage that on your own. Send us an email. We'll deactivate which computer you say you want us to deactivate. We've already done it for a beta backer.
Josh says it now asks for new password.
Okay, great. Thanks, Josh. Josh says it now asks for new password because that was confusing. Appreciate it. I haven't seen that yet because mine's activated. Also, you do have to be online to activate the software, but you don't have to be online to use the software. I believe it tries to connect you once a month. So if you've activated and you work offline, and then next month you try and open it up again and it says activate again, just connect to the internet and you should be good. All right. So this is a blank, empty project. what we're looking at here, let me open this bigger, a blank empty project. I'm going to create a brand new project. The first thing I would suggest doing is going to File, New. And you're going to be given a few options. The reason you're given a few options is this is determining where you want to put your graphics for this project. You can use the existing tile sets, which if you create more than one project, it's going to overwrite those assets. It's going to overwrite the graphic files in that folder. Probably you're going to want to make multiple projects. So you probably want to use one of these two options. I like to create a blank tile set, so I'm just starting completely from scratch. If you put create default tile sets, what it's going to do is it's going to use the default tiles that are in that main one that were in this existing tile sets, and it's going to make a duplicate of them inside of a folder. And that way, like if you wanted to make sequels or iterations of your game or whatever, you can use the same tile sets that are in your core tile set group and just create. It creates a new folder that'll be your working directory. We're going to create blank tiles, and I really recommend this is how you roll. You create blank tiles and give it a name. So I'm going to call this, and this is really the first time ever I'm using 4.0.0. So I'm going to call this first. What could go wrong? NESMaker test for reals. That is the name of this project. Hit OK. For those of you watching, if you guys want to share this on social media, Facebook, Twitter, I'd be super appreciated. I'd love to get some more eyes on this. So now I have a new project. It's unsaved at this time, so I'm going to save as, and I'm going to navigate to my project here, which was in NESMaker 4.0, and I've got a folder in here for projects. I'm going to call this, what did I call it? Do you remember? First NESMaker Eva, whatever. One was for the graphics folder. One is for the actual save state. This is what the project's actually going to be called. And if I look, here's what that did. If I look at my graphic assets folder, you can see now I've got a first NESMaker test for reals. This is where my graphics are going to be. Yep. So we're not there yet. Yep. Is only the video lagging, or is my video and audio lagging?
No, the video.
Is
well behind your audio.
Oh, see, I thought the whole stream was going out behind.
Nope.
Oh,
I don't
no.
think so. I could be wrong about that.
You guys can chime in at home. All right, so we're going to be using this graphic assets folder. You can see it made a new folder for all the assets here. Hopefully it is going out together. So now that we've got our graphic assets folder set up, there's a bunch of things that we want to start doing. The first is we want to set up sort of our screen structure here. And we've got a bunch of boxes. And one of them is for a HUD area, one is for the playable area, one is for a text boxed area, one is for a monster spawn area. That's if you're using like random monsters placement and you don't want them to be able to spawn like on the edges. You can actually set the spawn area. Awesome. Great. So how you set a box area is I just click and drag. You have to have a HUD box defined. You can hide the HUD. If you don't want a HUD in your game, you can actually disable the drawing of the HUD, but you have to have a HUD defined for the game to compile, I believe. So I just set my HUD. This will be my playable area. You could put your HUD on the bottom if you want. You could do this. That's my HUD area, and then this is your playable area. For some,
seems like it's doing something over here.
Okay, reconnection successful.
Oh, maybe that's what the lag's for.
Gotcha. Are you guys still with me? If you guys are still with me and this stream is still going, let me know.
Did just crash.
Are we back?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We're back. Okay. Sorry about that. I see people are starting to get their codes. All right. That's awesome. So let's take a look. Okay. So you can also set a text box area. We're not going to look at text boxes at all today. And then your monster spawn area, if you wanted to set random monsters, you could set your monster spawn area. So you can kind of see, you know, where your HUD things are. I'm not going to do the rest of the HUD yet. I just wanted you to see the setting up the boxes and whatever. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Project Info. And the reason I'm going to do this is I want to skip the start screen for now. I'm not even going to worry about having a start screen. I'm going to have it launch right into my game for testing. I'll worry about a start screen later after I've shown you some specifics. In my Project Info, I can actually click this bit to skip the start screen and hit OK. And now it'll jump right past the start screen into whatever I set as my first actual gameplay screen. All right. Now you can easily just uncheck that and you'll start in the start screen or whatever. So let's start building some stuff. I'm going to start by creating some background graphics for the screen. So I'm going to open up. I'm going to open up a pixel editor. And what we have over here is we have our palettes. And I don't know how much to explain on how the NES works and how much to explain how the tool works. I don't want to go too much in how the NES works.
Yeah, let's assume a basic understanding of NES's functionality and limitations.
Mm-hmm. So
if you're here, you're several layers deep in this rabbit hole already. So
right. So what I need to do is I need to set up a palette. And in order to set up a palette, I can do it here, but I don't have any palettes defined, so that might get a little complicated. I'm going to go to my palettes. I'm going to make a palette group. I'm going to right click on palette groups. I'm going to add a palette group. And you can see I got this little plus sign over here. User palette group. I'm going to right click and rename that grassland or something, you know, or group 1. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to make a new palette. I'm going to open up a palette. I'm going to use this palette. I'm going to right click, assign to group. So I've assigned my first palette to group 1. And you can see palette 0, palette 0. I'm also going to rename it my first palette. And you can see my first palette is in group 1 there. So
responding to James, he's talking about making your art in another program. You should be able to save it in the proper colors and dimensions to import into NESMaker. You don't have to.
Yep, we're going to
way easier than that.
Yep, we're going to actually show you how to do that. That's what we're doing right next. So now you can see it automatically loaded the first palette, which is group 1, my first palette, and I can actually edit the palette here. So the first color in every palette is going to be the same, and that's just the way the NES operates. That's actually the quote-unquote transparent color of so you have these 3 colors in groupings of 3 to work with to create. Now we use this one for the HUD. You don't have to. We automatically load this to always be the same on every palette by default. You don't have to use it that way. I'd recommend having a HUD palette, but you definitely don't have to. It's all going to depend on sort of your game's needs. So I'm gonna make. Well, I don't know because I don't know what graph is going to load yet. So let's take a look. I'm going to open just some. I have this beta assets folder. I made some graphics available, and oh no, where's my? I have other graphics that I put in here. I swear.
Are they on?
Oh, there. You know what? Nope.
You?
They're here.
Oh, they're not
bitmaps. They're a PNG file. You can load PNG files. You just have to make sure that you have all files selected. It's only recognizing bitmaps by default. And you can see this has way too many colors as a whole tile set to be a to work for the NES. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut out. This is going to be my player right here. This guy right here. So I'm going to use a selection tool, and I could turn on some guides to help me sort of see the size and the shapes of these things. So I'm going to get my selection tool. Oh, wait. I don't want to start with a player. Well, I'll start with a player. Sure. I was going to start with a background. But I'll copy this guy. Control C. And now he's copied into my clipboard. Now I'm going to open. And I'm going to navigate to my game objects. So I'm going to go graphic assets. And this is the folder that my game uses. So I'm going to navigate to game object tiles right here. And I'm going to now I'm going to put my mouse wherever I want to paste it. I want to paste it all the way in the top left corner here. I'm going to Control V to paste him in. So now he's in the game. Now, here's the problem. He does not automatically conform to what I want this to look like. In fact, some of the tools we have here help you get him in the format that the NES needs to see. It needs to see color values, not PNG or bitmap values. It needs to see these number values, and that's it. And so the way that we defined it is by being able to translate it to red, green, blue through these palettes. And I've got definitely going to show this in greater detail. But basically, if you use this tool right here, this is the Show Bad Pixels tool. They're all bad. None of these are going to work. Why? Because we need this to be in black, red, green, blue format. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a...
This is great from an art pipeline perspective because you can create your sprites in the color you need. And, you know, there used to be this whole workflow of trying to BRGB them in Photoshop in order to import here. This, you can just import them the way you meant for it to look and then approximate those palettes inside the tool itself. And that's great.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use like a dark color for, not black, but like a dark blue for the shadow, and then try and match these colors a little bit. Black is actually going to be the background color because that's a transparent color.
There's actually more than 3 colors going on here for a sprite because of the background.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this dark color as the shadow color. So I'm going to get this global color change, and I'm going to make sure I have that. And I'm going to, and what you're going to see is, oh, it turned blue. It didn't turn the color I wanted. We're turning it into a black, red, green, blue bitmap file. But if you want to see it translate it through the palette that you're looking at, if you click on that, you can see it through the palette. Now, if I click Show Bad Pixels, this is a bad example. Okay, let me go one step further. Yeah. So let's use this for his like hoodie tone and this for his skin tone. So this color looks pretty close to that. So I'm going to select that color and I'm going to global fill that. And okay, that's an obvious one. Let me finish this out by giving a skin tone. And so this is the actual bitmap file, and I'm going to make the background black. This is the actual bitmap file that it's going to create. So it's going to know which pixels use the background color, which use the first color, which use the second color, which use the third. Now, if you want to see what this looks like translated through this palette, you would click on Enable Palette Translation. And this is what it would actually look like through this palette if this is the palette you were using for the character.
So close to what you intended.
Pretty close to the pretty close to the original.
Sometimes you have to do a little bit of interpretation.
Mm-hmm. So again, this is the BMP that's being created because you can actually change this. Let's say you're in the game and you're like, you know what, I don't like that color blue for instead. I want it to be more of a purple. You're not actually changing the colors because the colors aren't what the NES is seeing. The NES is seeing color or number values. Now what's in this slot is this purple color. So anything that is red is going to translate to whatever's in this first slot. This first slot corresponds to the red. And so that was
it's the different colors as parsed for the NES and the palettes that are applied to those colors.
Right. So, okay. This is now our game object. So I also want to make sure that this is all black. So I'm going to get black. And so these are standard tools: line tool, fill tool. The bucket is either changes the entire color or changes that color within a tile, like an 8x8 square. There is no like fill this area right here. That tool doesn't really exist in this tool. You can get down to the pixel.
This is so great what Joster's done with this. This has come such a long way, and this is going to be a huge time saver.
Absolutely.
Compared to the old pipeline.
Sure.
Oh, man.
So you could zoom in, you could zoom out, turn the grid off. You could stretch. If your aspect ratio looks funny, if you click this, it'll force a square aspect ratio. So these are just some of the tools that we have. Now I want to save this, and here's where you could hit save, but I'm going to show you where it's saving. It is saving to. This is our root folder. Graphic assets inside our project graphics folder, the one that we set up at the beginning, and it's a game object tiles, and I'm going to overwrite it. And if I look over here now, you can see what it writes is this black RGB file right here. Okay, so that's a character, and we're going to work with that a little bit.
You can absolutely edit the pixels directly in NESMaker. We're not going that deep right now.
I'll tell you what, I'll do that right now with a background.
Yeah.
So let me look. So this was opening and then changing and saving. Let me just make a brand new main tile set. Okay, and that's something I'm going to do right now. So this is actually supposed to be the palette used for a background. So I'm going to set this back. Let's make some grass, green, and maybe like
Josh,
water.
So added a mouse. There we go.
Yeah, it's just stay over here. Sorry about that, guys. You still with us? You guys with us? We've reconnected. I'll wait till somebody chimes in. Yeah, we just lost 20 people.
Yeah. Okay. Someone says wreck.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, so
I haven't had Bud Light Orange before. I think I'm a fan.
So I'm going to go ahead and use my rectangle tool. I'm going to get this light green color. Now remember, it's really drawing it red, right? Just like we were just looking at. But translated through the palette, it's coloring it this first color. Red is equating to this first color, which translated through the palette will look like this. I can also use the pencil tool. Let's use this dark color green just to give it a couple of dots. Okay, so this is how we can draw. This is a grass tile, all right? This is how we can just draw, you know, like a paint tool. And if I want to hide, if that's in my way, I can hide that. Let's say that's good. I want to use this as my ground tile. Now I'm going to save this. I don't have the choice to save it, only save as, because I didn't open this from somewhere. This is a brand new tile. Where do I want to put it? This is a background graphic. So I'm writing over this first tile, this first background tile set here. And again, you can see what happens in my graphic assets. There it is right there. And it's red and blue because red and blue translate to these two colors.
Now, we no longer have to worry about what banks these are in, right?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, we do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So now I've got a graphic and a player. Let's start actually building a quick screen here. I'm going to go open up graphics banks. And in my first graphics bank, I'm going to open up assets. I'm going to create an asset out of this. So this is what the tile looks like. This is what the palette is using. And I've got some choices here. Not all of these are actually what they should be right now, but I'm going to show you how to change them correctly. I'm going to use null walkable. This definitely is set up right. This is a collision data that does nothing. I'm going to call this ground, and I'm going to hit save. And I look at my assets, and there's the ground. I can now, that's going to be my default 0 tile, so that's going to fill any screen that I create using bank 1. Let's just jump to a random screen, this one. And you can see it filled in the ground for me. And let's say I want to put the player right here in the middle. I can right-click, place player. And now my player is going to start right there on this screen. It's pretty much that easy to get him started. Now, if I were to try and run the tool right now, it would crash out on me. I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove it, and then I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to hit export and test, and it's going to crash. I know it's going to crash. This is not an accident. You guys are going to probably accidentally do this and not remember to do this, and that's why I'm showing it to you now so you can remember how to get over this. There's going to be a whole list of things. I can't find that file. I can't find this file. I can't find that file. Can't open the file. Where's the file? Okay, that's the assembler screaming at you because it doesn't know what you're talking about. The reason is we're working with a code base that uses the basic module. That's what I've called it. It's the module for the basic data. So what I have to do is I'm going to import a project module, and I've made a folder for modules right here. And here's the basic module, and I'm going to hit open. And everybody who's getting NESMaker is getting the basic module, and we're going to make a few changes, and I'm going to show you that real quick. I'm going to open the basic module, and it's telling you what scripts it's going to import. The current engine that exists under here is looking for the basic module. Over the next couple of weeks, you're going to be looking at a very simple platforming module, and a very simple adventure game module, and a very simple shooter module. Very, very simple to show you the mechanics. And that's how you're going to load these new modules. So what it just did was, if I go to project settings, and I go to script settings, these are all interchangeable scripts right here. What was happening before is some of these weren't defined, but the codes that this module uses were looking for these. Here's why this is cool. This is what the collision tile 0 does. It does this script. In fact, I can edit that, and this is the code for that script. It doesn't do anything. That's why it's blank, right? I'm going to close these. It doesn't do anything. It's blank. This is what the warp to screen does. If I hit edit, I can look at what that code does right here. Also, even more importantly, let's say I want to change what my module does. I can go to the basic scripts, and let's say I'm going to look at tile scripts, and I want tile number 4 to be the win game one. I could double click over here, and now tile 4, if I run into it, will run that script. And I could write new scripts, and I can embed new scripts, and I can tell it what all these scripts do. Aside from that, remember this order: walkable, solid, death, warp, win, because I'm going to have to change the labels so they match that. So walkable, solid, death, warp, and win are what this module wants to see. So if I go to labels and I go to tile types, I want it to be walkable, solid, death. Was it warp, win, or win, warp? Mine is win, warp, win. And I've got these backwards. This should say warp. So I'm going to make that warp to screen, and win is going to say win. So it should be, walkable, solid, death, warp, win. And then over here, walkable, solid, death. I'm going to change these names. Warp. Change this one to win. And these are nothing right now. I could literally call them nothing, but I'm going to call them tile 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tile 5, tile 6, and tile 7, whatever I want to call them. All right, so all I did was, this doesn't actually do anything functionally. This is for my reference. So when I'm in other menus, I can remember tile 0 is walkable, tile 1 is solid. I'm changing the labels of what these scripts are. So if I come back over here, if I get out of this and I look at my assets now and I look at my drop down, you can see they updated to what I just changed them to: walkable, solid, death, warp, and win. And now when I run into tile 0, this is going to happen. When I run into tile 1, this is going to happen because of the scripts that I set in the script settings. So when I save a module, it saves that data. It exports that data. So when we're creating modules for you guys to start playing with, that's what we're doing. We're creating these code bases and saving collections of code bases and defines for you to then import and play around, that already have the different collision script and the different physics script and the different drawing scripts that you need to run that type of game. And then you get to play around in that sandbox. Or advanced use, you get to create your own modules. You get to start tweaking the code, and you get something you really like. Oh my God, that works. Export that as my platform module. And then you have that to play around with and work and trade and share and stuff like that.
We're definitely looking forward to seeing how the community develops some of these things and shares them and bounces around and learns from each other.
So now that I've got my character, or now that I've got my background on the screen, I'm going to make a player real quick. So I'm going to go to game objects, and we're going to talk about the difference between game objects and monsters in a minute. I'm going to make my player too wide and too tall. And you can see his graphics loaded right here. These are the graphics that I built, although he's the wrong color, because he's translating the colors that I told him to translate through here. Now, if I remember right, this was the darkest color blue, and this was his skin tone. And this was his robe, like purplish color. Or
and what if you wanted to make a change here? What if on second thought you're like, you know what, that's a little bit too cool. What if I want his skin to be slightly more orange?
I could just, do that or that. I could
at any step in the process.
I could figure out. Yeah. So the other thing is, if I don't like this dot here anymore, I have a quick tile editor right here. I can click on a tile I want to edit, hit edit. And this opens up, and now I can make that go away or put it back, whatever, and save it. And that'll update the tile set. I'm just going to make a standing still character real quick. So this is my character. I'm not going to animate him yet. If I don't have to hit save, all the data is actually saved. But if I want him to update over here, now he'll look like that player over there. And with the object, with the player object, I need to tell it, I need to go to details, and I need to tell him it is a persistent player. The only object in most games that's going to be persistent is the player. And what persistence is every time a screen loads, all of the objects data goes away. All the object data gets erased.
And that's just how the NES works, right? I mean,
that's how most game systems work. And then when you load the new graphic, all new stuff goes, but you don't want the player data to go away. Like, you don't want it to reload the player's health every screen and stuff like that. You don't want it to reload the player. So the best way to do that is to say, hey, I want you to delete all the objects unless they're persistent. If they're persistent, I want them to persist. I want them not to get destroyed. And that's pretty common if you've played around with GameMaker or RPG Maker or Unity or any of these things. You should know that name. If you haven't, cool. Now you know. So the only object we're going to make persistent is the player. Now some of you might ask, can we make a 2-player game? What did I say earlier about what this can do? Yes, you can make 2-player games. We are nowhere near talking about what that would mean yet. We have a long way to get there with you guys, but yes, it is totally possible. For right now, you're working with 1 player, master that, and then we'll talk. So persistent player, I'm going to hit close, and now my player is going to show up on this screen right there. I'm going to go to test, export and test, fingers crossed. I think I did everything I need to do.
Good. Yay.
And there we go. There is our player chilling in the middle of the screen. Now he doesn't do anything yet. I
can't move him.
I could sit here and do things so I'm blue in the face. You know, I can't move him. I didn't even tell the game what this object is yet. Okay? It doesn't have any scripts associated with it. It's just a player chilling in the middle of the screen. So
but one of the great things once you get modules built is a lot of that stuff will be connected by default, right?
You'll probably still do all your input yourself.
Oh,
but,
yeah? Every time?
But,
okay.
yeah. But you could also, if you wanted to, that's a good question, because I know you're curious about that. What I could do is go to project settings.
Curious.
If I go to script settings, I could actually add like left movement script or whatever. And then what I would have to do is get into my, the area where left movement happens and just tell it to run whatever that variable is. So if I call this, like if I called this left move and I defined it to the left movement, and then where the left movement should happen, I say include left move, and that's just a variable name, then it would save with the project and with the module.
Oh, cool.
And so
there's a way to do
there's a way to do that, sure. And that's exactly what I did. In fact, when Josh gave me the first module, none of this stuff was there. The tile stuff wasn't there, the AI stuff wasn't there, and that's why it crashed when we first tried to open it. Because by default, it doesn't have those things, but my module does.
Okay.
So this module does. So that's a really good question. The next thing I'm going to do is, if you guys noticed, I'm going to test this again real quick.
E-Rock is saying he wants pre-made modules so that most of the basics are already set up. One of the issues with this is that everybody wants to make a different kind of game, so you have to find sort of a balance between what the default settings are and what everybody's going to change anyway.
Yeah. And honestly, you're going to see we haven't started talking about how to apply inputs and stuff like that, but most of the stuff is now set up. Your physics engine is set up. The collision data is set up already. All we're really going to do is make some inputs and tell it what script to call during those inputs. They already exist. You're going to see that when I get there. We are not going to touch code one bit in this entire basic tutorial. So what you'll notice is at the top of the screen it says Mystic Searches. You see that? NESMaker is a holdover from the Mystic Searches screen tool. That's actually why the files, the save files, are MST files, Mystic Searches tool files. What you're looking at here is a very, very simple emulator that was created to us by the god among men known as Shiru, who does all kinds of amazing stuff for the NES homebrew community.
The man, the mystery, the
right.
legend.
And he built this for us a long time ago. But what if, this is really a really limited emulator. It was always supposed to be. What if you want to use a different emulator? I would suggest using FCEUX, and I'm going to show you why in a second. You can go to project settings, emulator. And now you can select the emulator that you want to use. And it has to be able to run Mapper 30. At the newest FCEUX, I'm 100% does. I'm going to look for NES stuff. And Mapper 30, bam. And then I need to tell it where the game is that it's going to load, which here's where it is. All right. If I go to my root folder, game engine data, game.nes, it automatically puts the folder in the game. And now when I play that, check it out. And you can see I'm now in FCEUX. A couple reasons why FCEUX is cool is check this out. I've got a picture processing unit viewer. I can see the graphics and the palettes that are loaded. I've got a name table viewer. I can see the screen data that's being loaded. I've even got a simple debugger where I could like write in an address that I want to write stuff to and check it and see what value is at that memory address. Like there's some really cool stuff here that you have access to that you didn't on our emulator, and that's why we made it possible to load up other emulators. Okay, that being said, let me make sure my input is still set. Yes, it is. Let's make this guy start to move. Let's talk a little bit about how to make him move around the screen a little bit. So what I need to do is I've got an input scripts folder, and I've got a bunch of scripts for the movement for the basic module here. If I go to user scripts, you're going to see I have basic scripts. When we make more modules, you'll see platform scripts, you'll see RPG scripts, you'll see, whatever. These are the scripts for this game. I want to go to, not input, I want to go to movement scripts. And I'm going to bring in all of these. I'm going to bring in all of them, and I'm going to assign them. And we're going to talk a little bit about them. So if I look at input scripts, I've basically got start moving left, start moving right, start moving up, start moving down, stop moving left, stop moving right. Okay, so I'm going to go to my input editor, and I'm going to start to apply these scripts. If I go to my input editor, we have this nice little controller right here.
That's beautiful. Where did that come from?
Oh yeah, you haven't even seen the.
No, I mean I've seen it, but it's just occurring to me now where the picture came from.
It's magical.
Oh.
We are talking about
Is that your personal NES controller?
Sure. Why not?
Could well be.
Yeah. We have 3 game states right now by default that are loaded up that you can access: the start screen, the win screen, and the main game. There's plans to be more than this, probably 8 by default, and maybe even more. The problem is the amount of data in the bank that holds these is limited. So you got to be really clever. We don't really want to open that up unless you can gauge how much space you have left, which that's a thing that's coming down the pipe too. For right now, we're going to make this guy do things on the main game.
You will recall that the memory management was one of the last modules added because that's extra tricky.
Yep. So I'm going to set a null target. We don't need to set this to anything. This is for future referencing. I want to, when I hold down the right button, I want it to start moving to the right. I'm going to add that script. And you can read it like a sentence. In the main game, when I hold right, it's going to run this script of start moving the player to the right.
And these are exactly the kind of scripts that are going to get modified and changed. These are very basic ones so that you can get going, but they're gonna explode with variables.
And that's why it's really hard for us to write, all of this functionality just built in and say, yeah, you could do that if you wanted to using the module. The problem is that's what's going to make your game unique is you're going to be able to tweak these scripts to kind of do what you want a little bit different than everybody else. We can't make every possibility ever. We need to make the tool that allows for expansion.
And a lot of that, like when you get really down to the granularity, like if you have a sprite that is 3 pixels wide, you're going to want him to move differently than a sprite that's or a character that's 2 sprites wide. 3 sprites wide, 2 sprites wide. The scale of the character matters so much with the physics, and so all of this is stuff that you're going to want to carefully sort of customize.
So if you see, I've got hold right, hold down, hold left, hold up, and I've got start moving. Right, start moving right, start moving down, start moving left, start moving up. Now I'm going to say what happens if I let go. If I let go of right, it's going to stop moving right. If I let go of down, it's going to stop moving down. If I let go of left, it's going to stop moving left. And if I let go of up, it's going to stop moving up. So that's just basic logic. If that is something that you struggle with, game design as a whole is going to be tricky for you, let alone NESMaker.
If you've programmed for Xbox 360 controllers, this is way simpler than that.
Mm-hmm. So this is on par with something you do in Game Maker or RPG Maker or whatever. You haven't gotten into the code. You could, if you wanted to look at the code, here's the code, and you can now start to edit that code. We are not going to worry about editing the code. This might do something weird, but that's okay. We're not doing that yet. That's right. Sorry. Sorry. This is the movement code. And you can see we've created macros to make it really easy. Here's the macro, start moving. It requires 2 arguments. What object do you want to move? And what direction do you want it to move? And we've created some constants that are really sort of intuitive. Now, there's not a lot of room for macros. It's not a full library of code like in a game maker or RPG, but simple things that you might want always to have access to and might want to know how to do, like playing sounds, changing screens, that kind of stuff, is this easy. The codes are generally this simple. And if you want to do more complicated things, like you can only move right if you don't have this weapon loaded or something, I don't know, whatever, then you'd have to start, obviously making this a little bit more complicated. But this is a basic script, and this actually does a lot of stuff. This start moving thing sets acceleration and does a whole bunch of stuff that you're not seeing and you don't ever have to think about. So now that this is all applied to the player, I have to make sure to give my player a speed, otherwise he's not going to move. So I'm going to go to details. I'm going to give him speed, and I'm going to set his acceleration to really fast. If you set it to slow, it'll be flowy. If you were here from the beginning and you saw Mermaid's Den, that fish had a really slow acceleration, and it kind of gave it that floating feeling. Really fast is just he's going to like start moving full speed the second that you press the key. So now, if I export and test. Nothing is happening for reasons.
Is it because this?
Because I'm pressing my keyboard.
And
I'm sorry. I changed the input to the controller, not the keyboard anymore. So now I got my guy moving around the screen, and man, Josh, that just really freaked me out, man. That was really dumb user error. So I got my character moving around the screen. Now, what's nice about these scripts that already exist, and I'm going to show you real quick. I want to move this off to the side. If I look at project settings, and you can see I've got like this physics script already loaded. This physics script does a ton of this movement code for you. That's why those 1 lines of code worked in the. Also, notice there's already a handle bound script. Here's what it looks like. This already does all the handle bound stuff for you. It's the exact thing that you would expect. When I get to the side of the screen, I'm going to go to the next screen, and let's test that theory. Where's my game? Here it is. Now, what you're going to see is a series of 1s and 0s, because that's what it's going to say when there's nothing on that screen. So,
or maybe it'll just be black.
It'll just be black, yeah. So,
because it's whatever the default tile is in the tile set, and now they're all zeroed out.
They're all zeroed out, yeah. If I had a HUD graphics loaded, it would be.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing that I didn't do, and there was a little bit something funny that happened there, is I never set a bounding box for my player. So I want to set a bounding box. I noticed that he kind of got stuck on the edge there.
Yeah.
But we'll change that. Now, I generally don't set up bounding boxes like this, especially if you have like blocks that are on a 16 by 16 grid, because then it's almost impossible to get in between them.
Yeah, that's going to make the collision really unforgiving.
Yep. So what I'll do is I'll set up a collision box like this.
And also, it seems like this is meant to be like a shadow on this side.
Right. Or like...
So we don't want that to be colliding with things.
If I want them to sort of have depth, I might set up for half of it. Like Zelda and Link can like walk in front of the rocks in the original Legend of Zelda. His head's like over the top of them. That's what this will do, and it'll give it a little bit sense of depth. All right. So I'm going to close this. And so now... let's add some more background graphics so we can actually see the screen change. We're gonna append this tile set, so I'm gonna open that tile set, which was in graphic assets. I just want you to see it first. So this is what we have. We're gonna add things to this, but instead of just adding them by drawing like I did with this one, I'm going to actually go and get something that was created in a different software, Photoshop software, and bring it over here. Let's open up. Actually, I'm going to open up his. Where are the beta assets? Graphics and PNG. Oops. All files. So let's see. I know we have to have like a solid wall here. I guess this is sort of my solid block here for this type of game. So let me grab that. I'm going to get my selection tool, just like I did with the player. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to open and go back to my tile set there. And I'm going to paste it in here. Now, the same thing's going to happen. All of these are bad tiles again, right? None of them are conforming to this. What I need is I need like a gray color. And let's see, what does that look like? Let me turn this off here for a second. I don't know what's going on with that, but we're going to leave it for now and not worry about it.
You can just paint over it.
Yeah. Let's do that. So first I got to get these colors. So I want like a light gray and a dark gray and a dark blue. So like light gray, dark gray, and shadow color blue. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to globally change the light gray to this first color here. And really, it changed it to light gray, right? So if I translate it through that sub palette. So
what we're seeing on the grass there is with the sub palette 2 applied. It's not actually to that asset. But there's some of this kind of thing where, you know, you're seeing one palette applied to the entire tile set, so don't be confused by that.
I'm going to fill this in. The line tool and a rectangle tool. This was light gray, right?
Yep.
Okay, and this was
nope. Dark, medium gray.
Let's see. Let's translate it through. Oh, that was dark gray. So like this and the shadow color, right? So I can translate it. And either way, once you start, we've been looking at the red, green, blue thing for so long that it's super intuitive to see it that way. But if you'd rather see it this way, that's fine. We're going to create this asset with this subpalette and this asset with this subpalette. I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to go back to my assets. And I'm going to, and it'll pop up in a second. There it is. And I'm going to set this to solid. And I'm going to call this
certainly looks solid.
Solid block. Solid
blocked.
You
hit a solid block.
Hey,
you are solid blocked.
That is true. Save it, and you can see now it appears over here in my assets. Now if I go to my overworld, I can start dropping in these solid blocks like this. And I'm gonna hit the arrow key, and it automatically filled this screen with the default tile, which was right here. And I can see the screen next to me for collision. Now what's really cool is if I hit the plus and minus system, and I'm over this, if I hit the plus and minus system, I swear, if I hit the plus and minus, different plus. Yes, okay. I can actually see further into the screen. So I don't really have, I can't really see it on a map level, but I can at least get about 8 pixels into it, just in case I put the HUD somewhere weird and I need to see where that collision is gonna line up. So we can zoom that far out. These screens don't exist because they're undefined. So I'm going to zoom back out of this. So I'm just seeing, there we go. And so now if I look at my map, I've got these 2 screens, and when I get to this edge, I'm going to be over here, and that's what would make sense. And these are going to be solid to run into. So I'm going to go test, export and test. And now, nope, controller Joe. I'm blocked by these. I'm pressing down. You can actually see down here, so you can see what I'm doing on the controller. If I press down, I'm being blocked by that. And if I go to the right, there I am on the next screen. And that's what I was talking about with that Zelda thing. If you put the collision box on the bottom, you get that sort of 2.5D perspective where you kind of hang over like in the original Legend of Zelda. And I like that. I think that looks really good. If you want to go like true roguelike, you might not want to do that, but I tend to like the way that looks. So anyway, so now we've seen how to make multiple screens. We've got different collision types. We've got a player moving around the screen. Let's start focusing on doing some monsters and some AI and stuff like that. And close that out. Let's add some monsters. Let's take a look at how to do that. For graphically, for monsters, I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to go to monster graphics banks, and I'm going to load monsters. And you can see it's empty. I don't have any monsters. I could draw on this or this. This comes from the same place. Like if I go to pixel editor, load, comes from here, but it's monster 00 tile set. So I want to put the monsters in this and then save it to that location. I think we had some really nice ones that really fit this style, right? In the beta assets. I think he gave us some monsters. Pretty sure. Let's take a look. Sure, we had these little slime gel
Oh, use
guys.
the bunny as a monster.
Oh, no. We don't want to kill the bunny. Not the bunny. Let's copy this guy.
That'll work.
And I'm going to open up. That bunny is badass, man. We don't want to kill the bunny. All right. So
The boss.
I'm going to open. Yeah, that's the boss. I'm going to open up monster tile set, go to the top left corner, and paste it in. And sometimes the selection sticks right there, the selection tool. Okay, this is bad. This is not what I want it to look like. I'm gonna make sure that this is in BRGB. I'm not going to change this tile set. If I were to change this tile set to try and translate these guys to this tile set, look at what tile set I'm in. I'm in my first palette. If I change this color to red, guess what's going to happen to my main screen? The ground asset's going to turn red. That's not what I want to do. So for right now, I'm just going to get an RGB right here. I'm going to make, I know that the shadow, basically it was main color, highlight color, shadow color. That's how I had it set up. So I'm just going to remember to do that. I'm going to say dark blue was the shadow color, and the first color was the main color, and this was the highlight color, and black is what I want to use for the background. And I definitely want to use black for all this too.
What email will the code be coming from?
Whatever email you made the order with.
That's two, but who's sending it?
It could be the new 8-bit heroes from that domain, or it could be from Softworks.
Yeah. Check your spam folder.
SOFTWORKZ. If you are a person who is a Kickstarter backer, you'll be getting a code, right? You should be getting it anytime now. If you are somebody who pre-ordered it on the website, give us a few hours. We have to manually type those in one at a time. It's going to take us a little while.
I could be doing it now, but I'm talking to you.
So you'll have that tonight. I hope.
Maybe.
So I'm going to save this monster. And these aren't the colors I'm actually going to use. If I put them through this tile set, that's what you look like. That's not what I want to look like. But if I go over to monsters now, and I make a monster, this was
like that color, but it's too close to the player.
And this was my player. I'm actually going to name that player so I don't forget that was my player. I'll rename it. And I'm going to use a second sub palette here, and put this guy in like this. And let's give him some colors. What color? Let's see.
Make him purple.
Yeah, make him like a bright opposite of the color. So like maybe a dark purple for this, and then
it's a glob of magenta toner that has escaped from the color copier.
We'll call this guy Slime 1. Save him. Now I need to do a lot to make this guy actually behave like a monster, but let's just get him on the screen first. So I'm going to save. Now this is going to be new for you, so check this out. I need to go to monster groups. I'm going to add 4 slimes to the monster groups.
Okay.
I'm going to save this and call it all slimes. Save it. So now I can apply this group to a screen.
All slimes go to heaven?
All slimes go to heaven. So if I go to this screen and I want slimes in the screen, I go to screen info. And I go to which state my screen is in. Right now it's in normal. So I'm going to go day monsters, normal. And I'm going to choose all slimes. You notice their color is wrong. Why? Because right now we're saying that on this screen, we want the monster to use the player color. No, we want the monster to use...
Because it's just whatever the first one in the palette group is.
So let's rename that to Monpal Slimes. All right? And we're going to hit OK.
Or whatever name.
Now, this is kind of new for those of you who are beta backers. If I want to place those monsters, I can right-click, and you can see I can now place 4 monsters. And I actually have a listing of all the objects I can place. That includes all of my game objects, all of them, because they're always permanently loaded, and whatever 4 monsters I have in my group. And we're going to talk about game objects in a second, but let me place a couple of monsters here. Place monster 1, place monster 2, place monster 3. And it's okay if you use the same, this is the type of monster. So this is the actual index of the monster, and this is the type of monster. They're all the same type. So I could put all these, or I could just put the same one. So I got 3 monsters.
Cool. The email will come from your
email.
Info.
Yeah, info at new8bitheroes.com.
Info at
That's cool.
new8bitheroes.com. So now I'm going to go to export and test. And those monsters, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to animate. They're not going to move. They're not even going to hurt me when I run into them. But they should show up here, here, and here. And they should be purple. And purple they are. So now we got monsters on the screen. And they don't do anything. Notice depth is observed. Like I can walk behind them. I can walk in front of them. And that's no easy feat on the NES.
That's a thing for the NES.
And what I had to sacrifice in this engine for that was sprite flicker. And some of you guys might think, well, that's a really good idea. I don't want my sprites to flicker. The problem is, if you have 8 sprites on a scan line, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you have these all lined up in one horizontal row, and another, like you shot your sword or whatever, you'd have sprites start disappearing. And you just wouldn't see them, and that's why flicker
was how they prevented that.
Right. So this engine doesn't use flicker, but does use this depth system, and it's possible to include both. But again, we're making a very vanilla engine here, so people who want to add flicker, that's something that there will be probably a script for that, like make your sprites flicker. So anyway,
question: Are we going to demonstrate making a cartridge tonight?
We can.
We can.
Do you guys want to see us make a cartridge and actually play it on real hardware? The problem is going to be we're going to have to stop the camera and actually put on like the phone camera because I'd have to stop the feed and we'll have to turn on a mobile feed. But I can show you guys this.
You can't switch between screen share and like webcam or something?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I couldn't figure out how to get the webcam up through this.
We'll figure that
anyway. But sure, I can show you this running on software tonight or on actual hardware tonight, even if we just make it a video. So let's see, where are we? Okay, so we got some monsters in the game. Let's start doing some things. I want to add a game object as well, like a key that I have to collect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to make a game object. Now let me explain the difference between a game object and a monster in terms of how NESMaker operates. If I go to my screen info, you can see for my monsters, I can add monster groups, and those monster groups have 4 possible monsters in them. So every monster group has 4 different types of monsters that could possibly be within that group. And the thing is they load on a screen-by-screen basis. So like the graphics for these monsters are part of... Whoops, no, don't close out of that. The graphics for these monsters are in monster tile set 0. Monster tile set 1 looks like this. Monster tile set 2 looks like this. All right? This is monster tile set 0. So I can't have a monster from tile set 0 and a monster from tile set 7 loaded at the same time. I'd have to have duplicates of those monsters across the different tile sets. And that's fine for monsters. It generally works out pretty well. But there are some things that you always want permanently loaded, like your health, like a heart, would show up anywhere in the game no matter what monsters are loaded. Or like keys might show up anywhere in the game, or rupees, if you're making a Zelda clone, they might show up anywhere in the game, no matter what monster group is loaded. So you either have to take all those and put them across every monster group, or we can make a game object out of them, which uses basically the player's tile set, which is always permanently loaded. So I'm going to make a key that I can pick up. I'm going to go to my pixel editor. And I'm going to open up that fancy beta assets folder. Graphics. And I'm going to get this key right here.
Is this important right now?
Yes. Everything that's plugged in is probably important.
Damn.
There's some plugs right there. That stuff's not important.
Yeah, but that's not going to reach.
There might be extension cords, I'm sure, somewhere. In one of these, actually in the thing on top there, in the bag, there should be an extension cord.
Perfect.
Haha. All right, so I'm going to open up graphic assets, go to my game objects, and I'm going to put that key in here somewhere. I'm going to move my mouse to where I want to paste, Control V, there's my key. And again, I've got to get this into RGB format. This really isn't going to help me right now because I don't want to put it through this palette, but I can see, I know I want this to be the shadow color, which was dark blue. Oops. We're going to just do by tile here. And I'm just going to use the highlight color, which would be like my red. And then for these darker areas, I'm going to use, I could use the green. I guess I'll do that for now. And then I want the background to be transparent. And now if I were to translate through this palette, it would look stupid, but you know, looks like that. But these are all colors that will work with the NES. If I go to show bad pixels, notice no pixels show up because none of them are bad. They're all good pixels. So this is what I want. I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to go to my key pickup. Now, to be very clear, this does not have to be a key at all in any way, shape, or form. These don't have to be effects. Really, the only thing that has to stay in place is the player. It should be object 0 here. But all these, they're just, you know, sort of placeholders, like whatever you want your game to be. These are...
It's all just generic game speak, but you know, it's going to be about how you sort of creatively apply it, you know, if you think non-linearly about how you're going to make this stuff work for your game.
Exactly. So I'm going to make a key. I'll make it 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to have this guy use the second subpalette. Now this is important and kind of confusing. I don't know exactly how to make it clear. If you guys have thoughts about it, talk to me later about it. But I'm going to make this there. There's my key. Now I've set this. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Shoot.
Uh-oh.
I just changed the player's color here by accident. Let me change that guy back. Sorry.
That's the
okay.
same.
Now I want to make a key palette here.
I think he was light blue.
It's okay. Key palette. Rename it.
No, now he's gonna look like the slime.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. That's bad design. I'll fix that. Okay. And now I'm gonna set all of these. Okay, this is the part I was talking about a second ago. Let me explain the trick. Maybe you guys will have a good idea. So one of the issues is what you're looking at is not the color that the key actually is. What it's saying is the key is using the second subpalette 2, and whatever is loaded in a subpalette 2 in the game, that's what the key is going to use color. Same thing with the player. The player is going to use whatever's in subpalette 1. The problem is this isn't the place that sets subpalette 2. The only object that sets what these subpalettes are is in the player object. So when I do this, come here, mouse. Sorry, my mouse is getting slow here for some reason. So now when I'm going to make the game happen, subpalette 1 will be this, subpalette 2 will be this, and then subpalette 3 and 4 will be the ones I loaded for the monsters. So this doesn't matter what I put here. This is what's actually going to be loaded, even though this is what I'm seeing in this editor. So
in objects, it's just a color preview. It's in the player creation.
That's what's setting the first two subpalettes. Yeah, it's a little confusing. I don't know how to make it easier. So with the key pickup, I'm going to call it. I'm going to go to object details, and remember how in the player I made it persistent in player. Well, this is a pickup. So I'm going to make it a pickup, and I'm going to hit close. It's not going to move. I'm going to give it a bounding box. All these should have bounding boxes. I'm going to go to bounding box. I'm not going to give it actions or anything like that yet. But now this is what you haven't seen at all before is...
Make that light blue.
Make what? Oh, this.
Purple.
Yeah.
Different one.
All right, artist.
That one. No. That.
These ones?
Yes. No. That. Yeah.
All right.
That's what it was, wasn't it?
I don't know. All right. So now what I can do is I can go to Overworld and I can right click and I still have one monster, quote unquote, left.
Mm-hmm.
I can place the key in the room.
Okay.
And that's not the color it's going to end up being.
Sure, that's just a preview.
Right, that's just a preview. So when I test, export and test.
Using the first sub palette, even though it's assigned to the second.
And there's my key.
Nice.
And since I made the key a pickup, and the object collision script that I've already written knows what that means, You can see I was able to collect the key. Now, it doesn't do anything. No doors open. I can't open a door. Nothing showed up in my HUD. I didn't get any points. I didn't get any... We haven't told it to do anything like that.
But it did a pickup by default. That's something.
But it did a pickup by default. And I don't know how you're going to want to use a pickup in your game. Maybe the key gives you magical super key power. I don't know. Maybe you don't have any keys, and that's, you know, fuel for your rocket ship.
Maybe it's a trick and it just kills you.
Right. Whatever. You know, and you could do that. You could make a game object a monster so that permanently loaded is a certain type of monster. You could absolutely do that. Anyway, that's actually a monster projectile. You'd probably always have permanently loaded, so that would probably be in there anyway. So yeah, so that's why it's hard for us to automatically just make a one size fits all sort of engine, like E-Rock was saying. And that's not that it's a bad idea, but that's one of the issues. And as we start building modules, you might find some people who can construct the right groups of codes so that you can make it that easy. But we don't want to always say, well, here's a key. It's always a key, and keys do this. No, we want to give you the freedom to determine what that object is going to do. Okay, so we've got a game object in the room. We've got monsters in the room. I'm going to also make these monsters actually monsters. So if I go to object details for them, I can make them monsters. I also want to give them a solid and edge reaction. Otherwise, when they hit the edge, weird things are going to happen. I'm just going to make them reverse their direction. They're not moving yet, so we wouldn't notice this. But now that they are monsters, just like with the pickup object, our object collision already understands, okay, when a player type collides with a monster type, it should hurt him. Now, we haven't set up hit points, and we haven't done any of that stuff yet, but when I run into a monster... Oops. I probably never set up a collision box. Let's see. Because that should have...
Yeah, I don't remember you setting one up.
Let's see. I did not. And that's why they didn't collide. That's why you always set up your collision box, kids. All right.
Words to live by.
Okay. Let's try that again. And you can see I automatically have a knockback, and you can't really see that it's flashing, but it is. You just saw it flicker at the end right there. Our frame rate is not the same as the frame rate that it's recording, and it's not the same rate that's playing through here. So you're gonna... I don't know how this looks for you. It flashes
looks pretty good
for us.
Yeah.
It might look like it disappears sometimes, and sometimes stays completely solid for you. Now you can get into the constants and change the timing of that knockback and the speed of that knockback. Or if it knocks back at all, you can absolutely make all those changes. You could make instant death when you run into a monster. You can do all kinds of things. This is just the default thing that's here. So let's make some animations. Let's start actually changing our player's direction, things like that. So I'm gonna show you how to animate the player, and I'm gonna show you how to animate the monster, and then we're gonna make the monster start moving around the screen. All right. So we got a player.
This palette is giving me hives. Can you just right click on the light blue, make it that one.
This one?
Yeah. Better. Oh, thank you.
You bet it, man. So I can set my animation frame count up to 8 frames. I'm going to set it to 2 frames, and you can see I've got 1, 2.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this 4. No, I guess it's just back and forth. It's not. It's not 4 frames. So my second frame, I'm just going to do this.
And this is making it really easy to see. Ultimately, you're going to want to eliminate duplicates and things like that. And I assume we're going to have the ability to do that at some point.
Maybe. Or your own tools to do
or
that.
Your own tools, yeah.
So we don't always want them animating, but I just kind of want to show this to you. So I never set an animation speed. I'm sorry. He's not going to animate at all right now. He's just going to stand there. So let's talk about setting up an animation speed. This is where I'd set an animation speed. Forget that for a second. I want to make both of his states. So this is his walk animation. It'll look something like this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manage animations. And I'm going to rename this guy walk. You know what? I don't want to do this. Because I want my default one to be idle. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to make that just 1 frame. and I'm gonna call this one idle, and then I'll make the second one walk.
Yeah.
Makes more sense. So I'm gonna make this one idle or standing or whatever, and then I'm gonna add walking. And you'll see now I've got two different types of animation here. And this one is going to be 2 frame. And I'll quickly go into frame 1. And then I'll go into frame 2.
All of this gets so much faster the more you use it. It may seem like we're doing a lot of doing the same thing over and over again, but you definitely get quicker at it.
And this is also the fun part. Just seeing it come to life is exciting.
Now, how are you previewing that animation?
Pressing the up and down arrow keys right now. So I'm going to go to Object Details. And what we have to do is, these are all the animations that are loaded. Literally all the frame-by-frame animations that are loaded. And this is basically your animation types that we're going to apply to different game states. So for instance, you will have a standing animation, but you'll have it facing different directions when he's standing. So it's really 4 animations for standing, up, down, left, and right. But it's one type of animation. And so that's what we're doing right here. We're going to call this the walking animation. And we're going to add one called standing animation. And for stand, he's going to show idle. And for walk, he's going to show walking. And we're going to make him facing different directions later. That's something that we're going to do. But for right now, we're just going to set stand animations are all idle and walk animations are all walking. And now what I'm going to do is in his action step 0 for our player, that's the default. That's when he loads. That's where you want him to be idle and not doing anything. So that's where I'm going to have him standing. Okay. Now to make him start walking, what I want to do is I want him to go to this action step where I'm going to set it to walk. And I'm going to give it an animation speed. But it doesn't know to do that by default. I didn't say when I press the left arrow key, change his action state. But if you look, I did bring in code that does that. I brought in change idle animation, change to walking animation. So when do I want this to happen? Well, when I press these keys, so in my main game, when I press the right key, I want it to change to walking. When I press the down key, I want it to change to walking. When I press the left key, I want it to change to walking. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say when I press the right key, so null target, it's going to change to walking. When I press
so
it down,
why a null target and not the player?
that absolutely does nothing in the engine at this point.
Okay.
That has to do with some future stuff that we're probably going to make happen. When I release the keys, I might want to change them back to idle. And there's a reason that we might want to handle that a little bit different. When I release the keys, and let's take a look at what those scripts are actually doing. The change to walk script is changing the object state to 1. When the change to idle script is changing it to 0. And what's nice about this script is it checks the gamepad first. So we said that when I let go of a key, it should change to idle. But what if I'm holding up and right and I let go of the right key? He should stay walking, right? So only if the gamepad is not being pressed does he change. Only if there's no arrow keys being pressed, no D-pad being pressed, that's when he's going to change to idle. And again, that's stuff you don't need to think about because our engine code is doing that stuff. So now, let's take a look. I think I set everything up. Now, I didn't make him change direction. I just made him change his animation. So there's walking animation.
Nice.
It's a little fast movement for me. What do you think?
Yeah, it kind of looks like he's sinking instead of bobbing.
So let's go to game objects and object details, and let's make him a little bit slower. It's just that easy to make him a little bit slower. And I could also change the speed of his animation.
Better.
goes.
Yeah.
Now, real quick, let's make him change directions as well. And this is the sort of annoying part to watch. All right. So what I want to do is I'm going to add some animations. Oh, not there. Sorry. Manage animations. I'm going to make a idle left. I'm going to add idle right. Oops. Come on. Idle right. And idle up. So this is kind of long to process to watch, but it's good to sort of see how it works. I'm also going to make a walk left. Welk left? No, walk left. Walk right.
We have been told unequivocally that there will be no undo.
Walk up.
That's not a thing that's going to happen.
There are certain places in the tool where there is undo. Most of the tool does not have undo. But most of these things is not that difficult to fix the mistake either.
Yeah. Nothing is really a serious commit, you know, like all of it's pretty easy to just change and fix.
Now I'm going to actually copy this frame, and in my walk left, I'm going to make it a 2-frame, and I can paste that frame in so I don't have to do all that work. And then I just have to change his frame 2. And then I want idle right. And we could actually use mirroring and get rid of all, like the left and right are really, these are really the same. So I could get rid of one of these, but for right now, I'm just
because sprites can be flipped, backgrounds can't, but you can see the flip frame button, so you don't need to duplicate those graphics.
Right. Right. And let's do, oops, sorry. That's what I meant to do. And up. Idle up. Is this guy? I like his character.
Yeah.
Very simple and really, really sells it. Like really, really works. I did not create it. I'm not boasting. One of the beta backers actually created this character, and I think he's awesome.
He kind of reminds me of a chess pawn.
Sure. Okay, so now I've got idle in all 4 directions, and I've got walking in all 4 directions. Now when I go to my object details, when I go to walk, now I can actually change these. So what I'm going to do is when I'm walking to the right, I'm going to change it to walk right. And when I'm walking up, I'm going to change it to walk up. And when I'm walking left, I'm going to change it to walk left. And the same thing for stand. Idle, when I'm down, that was the default direction. Idle right, idle up, idle left. It's always going to export these 8 directions. You can fill something in so it doesn't feel like you forgot. Right now, this engine's never going to go to anything but up, down, left, or right the way that this current code is written. Mystic Searches, for instance, though, has 8 directions, you know, and a lot of games did make use of 8 directions, so you absolutely could. But now, and unless I messed up creating those animations, he should walk in those 4 directions. He should actually change the direction that he's facing. Glad we still got 40 people hanging out with us. So now, and no, of course he does not, because that would be too easy. So now I have to figure out why. Walking, idle.
I don't see. Oh yeah, there's walk up. Do you have walk down? I guess that's just walking. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. That is perplexing.
Is it in the script?
Could always have me facing down in the script. I'll have to check that. He should be changing his direction right there. So let's see if we can check the problem, everybody. Let's first check the script. code. Walk up. Start moving player up. I never actually set him to face a direction, and that's why.
Oh.
So real quick, I'm going to show you a little bit of code.
You promised. You promised there would be no code.
I know. Let me show you one instance of code, and I don't know if I have any code over here that does the let's see. So it'd be 0 1 1 0 1 1 1 0 0. Stay object. Movement X. Okay. So that should make him face up if I did my calculating right. Just a couple of lines of code there. Sorry, I know we said no code.
It may not have come back.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, yeah, it's going.
All right, you guys back with me? Sorry, we lost you there for a second. Let me know if you guys are seeing this. Anybody? Let me know if you guys are seeing this because we're not sure if we're still broadcasting here. It's Facebook. Facebook keeps refreshing and then kicking us off. You guys with me? Anybody? Good. Okay. So I'm just going to take this movement code and basically I'll tell you guys what this is doing. These 3 bits right here, each one of these numbers is a bit. These 3 bits can either be 0 or 1. And so just so you guys know, okay, your direction is defined by is down. Oops. Is down left. Is left.
These are variables that you defined in the engine.
Yep. It's up left.
For those of you who aren't doing ASM coding, you may not realize, but all of these engines, the engine in every game is coded from scratch, and you had to create all this stuff and not just code for a single game, but code that would work for any game that you might want to make. That's what NESMaker is. So whenever he's coming in here and writing this code, it's to interface with the engine that he created to make NESMaker work.
So when you see these, that means that we're commenting out this code. We're not actually using this part, anything that's green, but I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it in my other directions. And again, I apologize. I didn't know we were going to be using these sprites. So start moving player left. That was up. So let's make them start moving left. And left is 1 1 0. So we're going to change that to 1 1 0. And then
I see. So you wrote a reference, a commented out reference, and then you're just using that to make the change to the ASM code.
Yep. Right was 1 0 1 0, and I think start moving up. I know we said no code. I apologize. Up is up, right, left, and down. And down is 0 0 0. Okay, so now, without further delay, we have our guy facing directions, and hopefully I tag those in right. Let's check it out. There we go. Now he faces all 4 directions the way that he should. And you can see, I know we had to get into the code and I had to explain it, but it was 3 lines of code and we were able to get that functionality in there.
We had a question, is that a patch that we're going to have to distribute, what you did just there?
I could actually show that. Well, you guys just saw how I did it. You can now add that into your code the exact same way that I did it. The idea was we never intended for this is supposed to be the most vanilla basic thing, and we didn't have things changing direction. Like our monster only faces one way. That was the whole idea. Was this was supposed to be a really, really simple, let's get you started sort of basic module, and we're going to get into more complex stuff in the adventure module, which is the first one to come up next week, which is going to be very Zelda-like, and you can see why we're going to transition to that one with this as our base.
Yep.
All right. So
you can make the change right now, or you can wait for next week.
Yeah. So you can see how to do it, but otherwise your guy just won't change direction. You don't have to have him change direction either. You can always face forward. So with our monster, I'm going to do the same thing. I want to add 2 frames of animation with the monster. And the second frame of animation, it's going to be this guy. He's not going to have any direction. He only moves in one direction. So this is his animation. And now I'm going to make this guy start to move. So in his details, I'm going to give him a slow speed and a really slow acceleration. You're going to see he's going to kind of like drag forward. His actions, and this is where the objects differ from the player. I'm going to set what his actions are. He's only got one animation type, and I could set the animation speed. What action do I want him to do? Well, I've only got a couple choices. Move 8 directions, stop movement left to right. With this simple base engine, those are the codes that I have tethered in. If you remember going back up and tying the scripts in with the AI, I'm going to have him move in 8 directions. And at the end of that, I'm going to have it repeat that action. So he's going to start moving in 8 directions. And when the action is over with, when this timer's done, and 0 means a random number, that timer's done, he's going to repeat. So he's going to change direction. And up, down, left, right, or all the diagonals. That's what the 8 directions is. And then he's going to do this step again. If I want him to do something else, and we're going to look at that in a second, I could say advance to the next action, and then he would do this action, whatever I put here. For right now, though, he's just going to do what's here. So let's take a look at monsters animating and moving around the screen, player moving around the screen. Let's see. So now I've got monsters that move around the screen, and I've got a player that's moving around the screen, and they hurt me, and I can get my key. And you can see how, even with the explanation and showing you how to do everything, there's only 3 lines of code that I added to this entire thing. We were able to do the rest of this with just dragging and dropping, different choices from the tool. And so now that we've got that,
you're at almost 2 hours. Do you need to stop and save something? Or
I don't think I'm not recording to the hard drive. So,
okay.
Yeah, so it's just going to Facebook right now, and then I'm going to try and parse that and
fair enough.
Get it. So, so anyway, you can see how we're getting sort of close to game level already. If we just started making more levels, we started doing more things. So let's sort of start wrapping this up, and let's see what can we do that would be quick and sort of interesting. Let's add a HUD first of all. So what I want to do is, again, I've got no graphics for my HUD. If I look, here's my HUD tiles. So I'm going to go back out to my beta assets, and I've got some default graphics, letters and numbers for the HUD. And this will have a solid background, which will be this first color. And then, so this is actually this right here. The HUD's probably going to use this color scheme. So it's going to look like this. This is what my HUD will look like by default. And I can change that. Like I can make this color black, or I can make this color green.
So a question to clarify here. This is talking about the layer priority. Does that mean you fixed the flickering problem with too many sprites being on a single scan line? That the flickering sprites is not a problem. It's how they got over the hard limit. So the sort of base result is when you have more than 8 sprites on a scan line, they just start disappearing. Flickering was how you kept them from disappearing. It was a code trick.
Yeah, how you can still see them, because on one frame it would draw one of them, and on the other one it would draw the other. It can only ever draw 8. That's all on a scan line, 8 sprites. And like our player here is 2 sprites wide, and our monster is 2. So if we had 3 monsters and the player, and he swung his sword, that's it. Yeah. Something is disappearing. Whatever was the last one to be drawn wouldn't draw. Flickering randomized the order that they were drawn in, which is why you got flicker, and that's how you got around the problem. So you can still see where everything was. It would just flicker. Our problem is we are doing a priority with what is on the top of the screen going forward to the bottom of the screen.
So you can't randomize
So you can't randomize that.
Yeah.
What we'd have to do is we'd have to write a routine that saw if they're on the same scan line. If they are, those ones randomized. I can conceive of it, but it's way too thick for the basic one that we're doing right now. And it would require some level of sacrifice. Like, what do we want to get rid of to make room for that functionality? So a lot of these things are easy, not that hard to code. It's like, how do you get that code in the least amount of data possible to fit and cram on the NES?
You just can't have everything. You have to make choices.
So let's take a look at HUD and boxes. And we need to load the tiles here. So, I'm sorry, I did this and I didn't save it. Letters, numbers is going to look like that. I'm going to save this as, and I'm going to put it, graphic assets, in, where is it? HUD tiles. Hello, HUD tiles. There we go. And now, when I go back to my HUD, should catch up in a second. No? Not going to do it? Come on. Uh-oh.
This is one of those things where you have to close and reopen the program?
I don't think so. This is one of the small bugs that we were trying to make work. Let's see if we can if we had set it. If I go to project settings, I can go to tile sets. Do I have a HUD tile set? Yes, I do. It looks like it's pointing to the right place. Let's just make sure that it's refreshed. Make sure I saved it in the right place. I didn't. I didn't save it in the right place. That's my fault.
Did you save in the default instead of the project?
Probably, and I guarantee Josh saw that. Yes, I did. I saved it in the wrong spot. That was my fault. So I'm supposed to save it to this folder into the HUD tiles. My bad. Josh, did you just have a heart attack? All right. Now there we go. There's my tiles. So by default, this is what the HUD layout is by default. You can change these graphics. What I would recommend very strongly is keep your letters and numbers in the same place that they are and use this. And if you don't need all the punctuation, change that part of it, but leave the letters and numbers where they are. I think there's some code that's dependent on drawing text strings for where they are currently lined. It's not something that's hard to fix. I just don't think I got to it. And since everyone needs letters and numbers, pretty much it's laid out that way. But later, if you want, what you could do is you can go over here and you can see when I click on 6, it highlights 6. Well, if I went to say user, well, it doesn't have anything defined for user. So maybe this would be my user graphic, and it updates what that define is. So when it's drawing, if I put in user 0 value as I'm typing, and you'll see that when I make a text string, you'll see it would actually draw this graphic in that spot, which can be kind of cool because you could be like, you have 3 hearts, or 2 hearts and then a message string and 2 hearts. I love you, whatever. Like, you could do all kinds of things. Yeah. Your power went up and show a sword, or you could use this to draw like an avatar if you're really clever at how you do a text string. Anyway, but these should already be set to go. Let's make sure that and definitely feel free to change these graphics. These are just the default ones. You can make them a lot more interesting than this. Now let's get into actually designing the HUD. This is what our HUD currently looks like. It doesn't look like anything. I'm going to skip over these for a second. It doesn't look like anything yet. Let's just get some text on there. So I have different types of HUD elements, and this is pretty new too. I'm going to add some text, and it's just going to be called health. And I can put it in place. Now the top row is going to get cut off because at the top of the screen, that's just on the NES on the TV, usually cuts off the top row and a little bit of the second. So health, I'll put it right here and we'll see if that works. And for the next element, what I'm going to put is I'm going to put a variable tiles graphic. When it's empty, what do I want it to look like? Well, let's make it like X's and hearts. So when it's empty, it's going to look like that. When it's full, it's going to look like a full heart. And its max value is going to be 6. I don't know. I'm going to scroll over here. There we go. And now I've got health. Don't worry about it showing 3 full and 3 empty. It's just sort of showing you what both graphics look like. It'll split them in half and do one, half and half. So you can see by default, it's using variable my health. Well, that was set here in user variables. This saves with the module. So when I loaded the module, my health loaded with it. And the reason that's important is because I already have the variable my health doing things in this module, right? When I run into a monster, my health goes down. All right. So you might not want to use my health. Maybe you're making a Tetris game and your variable is called next Tetris piece. And so you would have to then, look at your module. What is the variable that you're using that you need to represent in the HUD? And then you might change the name of this. And then, this relates to the code or the variable as it's used in the engine. So that's more of an advanced function. When we make these modules, we're going to preload a bunch of these variables for you. But if you're really into working with variables and you've used GameMaker or Unity and you understand how that works, you might want to start playing this in your own modules. And we don't want to limit you to just what we come up with. We want to give you the freedom. So that's why it's available to you. So now we have actually health being drawn to the screen, and we've got a initial value for health was 6. Now I don't know if this is set to update automatically. It might be. I don't know if the intro health is actually set to this variable or not yet. I just can't remember if I did that with this module or not. But let's take a look. Value out of range. Uh-oh.
Does the tool allow you to create a game that is too large? If so, does it warn you of this? That's what just
That's
happened.
what literally just happened. However, I don't think that's what just happened, because that wouldn't make any sense.
Is it just not attached to anything, the health?
Oh, no. That's a really bizarre... I'll tell you what we can do. Let's turn this off because this is what caused the problem. So, set this to none. This might give me a different error because I think I have to click off of this first before I set it to none, because it's still going to try and read my health but doesn't have any images associated with it. Okay, so out of curiosity, I'm going to see if it really is that space that's a problem. So what I can do for I have a program called NESMaker. No, I do not. Not on this computer. Yes, I do. There it is. This is another one of Shiru's. I think this is Shiru's awesome concoction. And I can see how much space is left. Ooh, we are getting low on space. So that's something that I'm going to have to do, and I'm going to have to free up some space in this static bank here. You can actually see, but we shouldn't be that close. But you can see there's actually very little space left in our static bank, and that has to do with, a lot of the code is generally unnecessary that's running. Like the platform code is still in here somewhere. Well, you don't need the platform code in here.
And that's the kind of thing that the memory management tool will allow you to do within NESMaker, but that's still a ways off. That's something that we're working towards.
Right. So for now, if I wanted to free up more space, let's take a look at some places that I could do that. For instance, I'm going to, not doing anything with fades right now. So I'm going to go to my handle fades where they're included in the script right now. And I don't expect you guys to know this.
This is the kind of coding you won't have to do. That's what we're working towards anyway.
So I'm going to, let's see, where are my fades? Handle fades. And there's another one related. I think they're both in that script. Yeah. Okay.
So by commenting this out, it won't include it in the compile, and that'll save you some space in the bank, right?
I think that's the only place where that code comes up. It might be in a macro too. So let's hope that that's the only place it pops up. Yep. So nice. Now, how much space did just commenting that out save us? And now you guys are sort of seeing the difficulty in developing for the NES, especially WYSIWYG, with everything included in it, because you start running out of space and you start having to memory manage. So the solution to memory management, and you can see I got some space back on the bottom here.
Still says 0K free, but
so
you got some bytes.
Yeah. So what we would end up doing is taking parts of this that don't require being in the static bank and moving them into these two data banks. That 14 and 18 are the data banks we have free. So what I'll probably do for the first update is move some of those so we have a little bit more room to breathe. I didn't realize we were that close in the static bank. That is all because of the scrolling code that I added for 100% sure. And so when you guys are asking about scrolling, one of the tricks is scrolling is very particular and it takes up a lot of room to make it work. So all of a sudden we have an engine that does all these other things, and now we add scrolling, and that's why it's tough to fit and cram into that space. If I just minimize that and take that out of this this module, we'd have plenty of space left in here, and that's sort of the number that I was going on. So anyway, let's go back to the HUD real quick. Now, if I make this a variable tiles thing, this should show me how much health I have left. There we go. At the top of the screen. Now, I don't know if that's set up to run with the collision yet or not. Nope. It is not, because I haven't set what happens when I collide with an object yet. I haven't told it to do that yet. It may be because I haven't set... Let's try this. If I set this initial health to 6, it might actually work.
If you run out of space, why can't you just create a new mapper to allow 1 megabyte ROM? Well, that gets into hardware, and that's not our business.
And the other problem is you can do that. You can do that all day long, but the NES can still only ever see 32 kilobytes at a time. No matter how big your mapper is, that's not the problem. If you look at our space checker, the problem isn't that we don't have any room left in the entire game. See all the white spot there? That's all free space. All this is space isn't taken up. Now this is all for the map. These first 10, that's where the map data goes. That's where all your level data goes. These are for graphics, which we just haven't filled that stuff in yet. But some of these actually have a lot of room that are data banks. The problem is we need certain functions to be in this bank specifically, because it's got to jump out to other banks and come back, jump out to other banks and come back. So yes, we could add a larger mapper that has more memory, but that still won't solve the problem of there has to be the static bank that tells it to jump to those places to get the data to come back and keep running the game.
Right. The system only sees 15K at a time.
32K at a time.
Right. And so yeah, everything in the program that tells it to look somewhere else has to fit within that 32K, no matter how much storage there is on the cartridge.
So what you just saw is we're not showing the update to health, and we'd have to get into the code to tell it to actually update this code to go down. And actually, you know, I think what I did was,
those animations are great.
Yeah,
I love it. Love that squash and stretch.
I actually think that the reason is right here. I think in the official engine, I set this one up as health.
Oh, number
Maybe
0.
Not. Maybe not. We're just going to leave this alone for a second. So in order for it to show the hearts going down, what I would be doing is I would be getting into my project settings, and I'd be going to my scripts. And again, this is not something that you have to do. Not everyone's going to have health in their HUD. So some people might have I run into a bad guy, I die type of scripts. So we're casting a wide net here. I would go into my object, where is it? Walkable, load monsters, player death, object collision right here. And I would edit it. Oh, well, that's interesting. So let's make sure that we're pointing to the right object collision, which we might not be. So we go to basic scripts, main scripts. There. Let's go to system, handle object collision.
Right, that's the other one of the other issues with choosing a mapper is how is it supported in across emulators, and that's something that
not just that, different mappers load different data in different groups. Like some load data in 4 kilobyte chunks and some in 16 kilobyte chunks, and all kinds of things.
Yeah. Mapper 30 was a decision that we had to make a couple of years ago, and we're well painted into that corner.
Yep. They handle how memory is organized in completely different ways. Everyone who made, there's 200 mappers, I think 100 and something that were created during the NES's lifetime, and then who knows how many created after the NES's lifetime.
Right.
And the thing is that each one of them handles it completely differently. You'd basically make NESMaker for every type of mapper you'd have to do.
Yep.
Or fundamentally change the code so dramatically that you'd be writing so much ASM that it would defeat the purpose of having a sort of what you see is what you get tool like this.
Well, and one of the designing principles in creating the software, certainly in creating the game that we wanted to make, was, we wanted the kind of game that could have come out during the life of the system. And so we were limiting ourselves to mappers that weren't, that didn't handle anything super post-market, except for those things that we needed, like reflashing and some of the other things like that. But yes, there were ones that were over 512K during the life of the system, but very few, and we wanted to be more in the sort of sweet spot of when the system was at its height aesthetically.
Let's see. I think I just fixed it so that the health will actually update now. This is something. Oh, come on now.
Question, is it possible for people to write plugins for the editor? Probably not.
Josh would be the person to ask about that. Josh is the tool developer, and we are working on a system to have plugins. Although, sure, and we're going to make the music composition tool, which is essentially going to be a plugin and things like that. And absolutely, and you might even be able to find post-market things that you want to apply to your game or whatever. Man, this is vexing me. Now I am vexed, everyone. You've vexed me. Sorry for the delay, guys. Now I'm on a mission. There we go.
Yay.
All right. So
what was it? Explain what.
So what happened was when I originally did this this module, I hard coded which one of these was health, and I made this one element 3 health. In this one, I made element 2 health, and I forgot to change the hard coding back. I don't know if you guys noticed, but it started as this, and this was commented out. What I really needed it to be is this. So it's a variable that it's updating instead of a hard coded value. So
and this is a big part of transitioning from our Mystic Origins engine into the NESMaker engine, was making all these things that just did the one thing that we needed them to do, a variable that could handle whatever people wanted to do.
Whatever you want them to do. You might want health in element 2, you might want health in element 7. Okay, we had it in element 2 basically, and in the way our engine worked, and we had it hard coded. Now we want to make it variable. So now you can see my health is working. Run into this guy, and he's going to kill me. And there we go. Run out of health. So, again, sorry for having to dip into a little bit of code, but if you've watched, I think total I've written 6 lines of code so far.
And again, it's all things that are designed for you to not have to do.
Right.
We're just... There's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
A lot of edge cases.
So, real quick, let's do a couple other things. Let's, talk a little bit about paths. This is kind of a cool feature for those of you guys who haven't been following. If I go to graphics banks, I need to load in a path graphic real quick. Now, this is a really bad path, by the way. Poorly drawn path. But I want to show you the idea behind it.
Ooh. That is bad.
Yeah. So if I put it through that, this would actually end up sort of looking like water, but reversed. So what I want is something that looks like this. There we go. And that's going to kind of look like a dirt path, sort of. Crappy one, but I'm also going to give it some dots in this so it kind of gives it some detail here. I'll give it some dots in this one. There we go.
Question: will the NESMaker software update automatically, or will you have to go to the website to download a new version? Yes, that's what you'll do.
I believe Josh can chime in on that, but you'll be downloading a new folder version because there's a lot of things that might be updated. Now, he had talked at one point about building an automatic updater. I don't know where we landed on that, but I know it's no easy feat, and there's a lot of things that need to happen in order for us to do that. It would be much easier for you to say, new version, download, unzip, going, you know. And we don't want to force people to have to be online to run NESMaker either. So that's another part of it, you know. Yeah. Did that answer the question?
I think so.
Okay. So I'm pasting in a path. So now I've got a path. I'm going to save that. Like I said, this is a really bad path, but it'll show the concept. Now I can go to paths and... Uh-oh. Come on.
E-Rock, I know that Joe's goal with this is always to allow people to get into the code sort of at their own speed, you know, to make the game that they want to make up until the certain point that it that they want to do something that it can't do, and then they learn how to code that, you know, like as an artist, I don't want to interface with this code at all. Various other people will be more willing to learn aspects of it to do things that they want to do, but it's all sort of open and explorable. You know, it'll work without you having to code, but you can get in there and learn about it without breaking the engine or going through any of the sort of hopefully the memory management issues that we've had getting to this point.
I did it again, Josh.
Question: how are we going to notify when new versions come out?
There's an email list. Did you put the email list subscription back on the website?
Yeah, it's still there.
That's going to be one way. The Facebook group. I mean, anyone who's on the Facebook group can attest. I post to it constantly. If you're part of our channels, you'll know for sure. And if you just sort of check, you know, if you
check the website.
Check the website.
There's going to be a fairly fast and furious batch of new versions here over the next couple of months. So, you know, you probably just want to keep an eye on it for the next little while. After that, you know, the email list will probably be the best way to keep abreast of the latest version.
All right, Josh, we got a little bit of a trouble with this path right here. It doesn't like this at all. So let's see if I can fix it. Let's see. Did I break it?
It's broke.
Yep, I broke it. All right, so we're going to look into that error, and we'll deal with paths on another day. If you want to see how paths work, definitely check out some of the beta tutorials on paths.
That hasn't changed significantly.
That hasn't changed at all. So we're going to see what's going on with that. And I made a little faux pas when I first loaded it up, and that might have contributed to the problem. I'm not sure. But anyway, let's take a look at some other things that we can do.
But I think the takeaway from all this is, you know, you see how quickly you can get up and running, you know, using some stock assets and just start wireframing this game. And this was just not a thing that existed when we started
at all.
You know,
this is the first time I've been playing with these graphics at all. You know, when
we first started, it was always a conundrum of, you know, can the game do this? Well, it depends on, you know, how you do this, that, and the other thing. You know, the whole point of this is, what do you want the game to do? Try it. Does it work? No. Yes. Great. You know, that's what this tool is.
Let's get this door from the platform set here.
I like that.
That one's mine, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's cool. It looks like a little, like a scanner, you know, like it's going to ID you before you can go through the door.
Yeah, I was kind of going for island, you know, secret layer.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
The hatch.
Right, yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
there
hatch.
you go. There you go. So let's open up our background tile again. And I'm going to paste in this door. And I'm going to make, let's see, that's going to use this guy right here. So light gray is this. And dark gray is this. And then...
Oh, you should have a third palette and make that color glow.
I know. But I'm not going to do it.
Work.
Yeah. Okay, so let's make this our win. You know, you get to the door and you win. So let's add a 2 tall door like this. And this tile right here, this one's going to be solid. But this one, in fact, let's actually make this 3 wide. And I'm going to show you guys how we can actually make different. This is going to look kind of stupid because the perspective is going to be all wrong. But
do you think you would do an old school NES black box style box art for Mystic Searches? Interesting story about that. That box art, that layout, that design is still copyrighted, and so yeah, you can you can fake that up as fan art, but you can't sell that stuff commercially.
Yeah. People do, but that
but they shouldn't, and we discourage that.
We discourage stealing someone else's intellectual property, but definitely as an homage, as a satire, as parody. It's fun, but Mystic Searches, I think, would have been a late era NES game anyway, and a lot of those had much more illustrated
they moved
graphics.
on by that point.
Yeah,
that was the first generation.
So what I did was I just made a big door asset, and all of these are solid, and this one is a win, and I'm going to call this door. So you can actually mix and match collision types on a thing. Now the problem is when I win, I haven't told it what win means, and in this case, win means go to the win screen. Well, right now the win screen doesn't look like anything because I haven't created a win screen. I just have a solid gray background as a win screen. So I'm gonna go and in Overworld, I'm going to put the door here, and I haven't shown you guys this, but if you look up here and I move my mouse over, you can actually see what all of these things are up at the top of the screen right here. So this is a walkable tile, this is a solid tile, and that's just so you can remember sort of what these things are. So now if I walk over to here, I'll put a couple monsters on this screen too. So my day monsters will be a couple of slimes again. And I'm going to
place them.
Yeah, let me place it. Actually, I'll show you this real quick. If I go to placement details, I should probably set a couple up first. So I'm going to set up monster 1 and set up monster 2. Except then I'm going to go into placement details, and I'm going to hit random. So instead of them showing up exactly where you see them right here, they're going to be randomly placed here inside this green box, which was this monster spawn area. So they're going to spawn inside that somewhere. So if I go back over here, you're not going to see them. Hey, I said random. There you go. Okay, so let's test that. And let's see them show up in random places. And that's going to observe the solid. It's going to not place them on the solid. Go over here. Come back, and they're in totally different places. So that's kind of fun to add sort of randomness to it. And if I get to the door, it takes me to the end screen, which is gray. And just to demonstrate that we're sure that it's going to the end screen, if I go to my special screens right now, and we haven't talked about how to make a special screen, but let's just make sure that I can tell. It's going to be a bright pink screen. Okay, let's see what that looks like. So I'll know that I get to the end screen because it's bright purple.
You will have descended into the slime pit.
Right. This is their home. This is where they're from. This is actually the slime dungeon. And there we
it
are.
is.
So we would make a cooler windscreen and that kind of. Let's talk a little bit about music and adding sound effects. Now, this is one place where to add sound effects, you will have to add code, because who knows where you might want to put that. So we have to start talking a little bit about how to write that code, and it's really, really, really easy. Okay, so I'm going to add some music, and I already have right now, I've got empty songs. That's why we don't hear any music playing. I'm going to import the sort of default beta asset songs, and you heard this playing a little bit earlier.
E-Rock, question about graphics. There are a lot of cut and paste options. I forget exactly what they are, but yeah, there's a lot of that kind of thing. We're trying to minimize the redrawing of things.
So I've got 3 songs loaded, and I've got a bunch of sound effects loaded. So if I go to my screen, I can now tell these screens to play songs. So this screen, for instance, what song do I want it to play? I'm going to have this screen play the main song. I'm going to have this screen play the main song. And when the songs are the same across 2 screens, it won't start over again. If they're different, it'll stop and it'll start playing the next song. And when I get to the end, if I go to my special screen, I can actually set the end song to start playing when I get to the end, so you hear the music change. Let's check that out. So now I've got music playing. That should not have started over. And now I've got this happy music. And I'm going to check that code to see why that started over. Definitely shouldn't. We did make some last minute changes so that you could have a different song if an area was saved or not saved, and that might be the culprit as to why the song started over. It shouldn't, but it did.
Question about the book, the strategy guide. As you can see, the software is still kind of a moving target. So the strategy guide is going to be coming in the next few months. Right now, it's a coming soon on the website.
Hoping by the holidays.
Yeah, that's the plan.
There will be so much video content way before there's a strategy guide. The strategy guide is going to be great, but honestly, it's almost more of a tips and tricks thing. You know, it's more of like a collector's piece. You'll be able to learn everything that the strategy guide has by the forums, by talking to us on Facebook, by watching the videos, all that stuff. So let's look at how to add some sound effects. Let's add a sound effect when you get hurt.
Sounds good.
So I know he's got these named. So like,
ouch.
Ouch.
There's an ouch.
Let's use ouch, which is what number? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's song number 5, sound number 5. Remember that.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go, and you wouldn't necessarily know where to place this right now. This is going to take a little bit of knowledge of where things are in the code. But if I go to my project and I go to project settings, I know that I want a sound to play during the object collisions. So during object collisions, I'm going to edit this script. And I want to find out where I get hurt. All right. So let's see. I'm looking, and I could go through and I could try and make sense of all this, but I see stuff about hurt here, but this looks like it's hurting a monster. And I want to find out where it's hurting the player. So let's see. Handle player death. Okay, now I'm in sort of the right spot. The player's not dead. Here's where the health goes down right here. So what I'm going to do is right here, I'm going to just play sound. The sound I was going to play is 05. Now, if you look at the help menu, and the help menu is kind of sad at this point. This is going to get a major update with the first update. It's just a text file where I started to lay in information about these different parts. It'll have images, it'll have, you know, all kinds of other assets. But one thing it does have that I wanted to make sure you get are some of these codes and what they do. And I started to write that part out. And these are a lot of the codes. And one of them is play a sound. Song, the sound index, and the priority. So that's how to play a sound. You need 2 arguments. You need song index, which was 5, and the priority, which actually I've overwritten this.
Is this your help document right now that we're looking at?
Yep.
Okay. So a couple of questions about the strategy guide and what's in it. You know, that help file is going to be, you know, the resource here in the immediate future.
I think videos are going to be within this next 6 weeks. Yeah. You're going to have different videos for each module. And, you know, and when I say module, just like this one is it's going to be a very simple module that shows you how to do basic platforming stuff. And a simple module that shows you how to do basic adventure game stuff and how to do basic beat 'em up. So it's not going to go into depth in making a whole game. It's going to show you how to create the basic mechanics based on what is included in that module and how to change things and access things. And by the time we get through 6 weeks of that, you'll have a really good handle of, you know, how to mix and match and synthesize some of this information. And probably you're going to start to see custom code show up on the forums. Because even during beta testing, we started to see advanced users write custom code. And you were talking about plugins. We actually did have a user create an entire pathing plugin for a different pathing system that was more versatile for the game that person was trying to create. So whoever was talking about plugins, yeah, that's one way that they'll do it. Now, theirs doesn't reflect in the tool, but when you run the game, it does work the way that they want it to. So, you know, we're going to try and provide better access points for custom created plugins and stuff like that. What should happen,
and certainly you saw, hopefully when we were demoing the different beta tester games right at the beginning, you know, those are people that have, you know, really stretched what the beta was capable of, you know, so, you know, just a little bit of learning how this works, you're going to start to get all kinds of ideas about how you can take it to a different level.
And if you're like super worried about like looking at this tutorial and being like, well, I saw those beta games and I don't get how I could do that. Yeah, we know this is supposed to be some very bare minimum essential. Here's some things that you can do and snapping stuff together. Next week, we're going to start actually looking at the modules and like, okay, let's make an adventure game. Go. And I'll have made it in advance, created the module, created all the scripts for you, and then push that up to the site where you can download it as you're working on the project. So you would download the code base, you'd plug it in, you'd load in the module the way that I showed you guys with going to project import module, and you'd import the adventure game module, and then we'd work through it together with a similar code base. And for the next 6 weeks, that's what we're going to be doing. And by October, after we've done that like 6 times, you're going to have a really good foundation of how the tool works.
Question about DPCM samples. I don't think that's on the horizon at all. Right?
No. Well, here's the deal. We're using Gradual Game Sound Engine. Yes, you can use samples. I would not, because there's so many issues that bringing in samples can bring in that, you know, right now I believe we have them disabled. We might have them enabled, but how would you even access them? You would definitely have to do that through code. You'd also have to consider the memory problems that come up. There are also some bus conflicts that happen as a result of samples. If you really know what you're doing and you can look at Gradual Game Sound Engine and say, haha, I got it, cool. Then cool, yeah, you could probably add samples. So yes, the engine supports it. 2, you could not use this sound engine. You could use a totally different sound engine. You could look
just like you can use another emulator.
Just like how I was showing you guys how you can load in the various scripts. You could get a different sound engine loaded in. Now you're gonna have to figure out how to integrate it. But once you do, you can export a module with Famitone or your own custom written sound engine, and then handle it any way you want. The engine though has to be as vanilla as possible because, like you saw, we ran out of space, right? And that's something I can easily fix because I can remove like the scrolling code from this, you know, this engine, so that won't happen to you guys. But we ran out of space in the static bank that quick, you know. When you start dealing with these other possibilities, sure, you can add that, but do you have enough space to deal with it? Do you know how to jump to a bank and you know, run the script to run the code and things like that? We need to be vanilla so we can cover all bases, and that means that we have to, you know, have the center point, the limited amount of music stuff that you can do. The tool is capable of doing more, but what we're providing as a default is the vanilla sort of engine. I hope that makes sense. To remind you guys what I just did, I went through the code and I found where the hero is getting hurt. And this is probably going to be something that in future versions we're going to expose this piece of code in a module like this. And so there's, hurt player is just this section right here, and you know that somewhere in there, and I'm playing sound number 5. So let's see, when I run into the monster, it should play ouch. I don't even know what ouch sounds like, so hopefully it's a good...
It's a sample.
Yeah, right. Nope. Sounds like nothing. So let's see.
Now, is there a way to preview the sound effects?
Yeah, not really. There is, but this is one of the broken things in the engine right now is we have these players that can play the songs, but it's a little bit funky. Whew. Yeah, it's a little brash, and the sound effects don't observe things like pitch, and a lot of the sound effects have pitch control.
Right.
I have a feeling what it is...
Oh, is there an effect applied to it, maybe?
It's very possible. So this is ouch. So that's what should play. And there is a couple of reasons why it might not be playing. Let's see. Where am I going? I can look at handle music and take a look at the priority. Oh, that's not it. We're going to jump back to playing sound effects. I'm going to look into that a little bit deeper. I do know that they were working earlier today. For sure they were working earlier today. So that's bizarre that they're not working right now. However, I did just load this up before we logged on, so that could be what the problem is, or it could just be where I'm placing it in the code, and I have to do a little bit more digging to find out if that's not a reasonable place to load it. Where are we? Okay, so well, we've got a way to lose, we've got a way to win. We've got monsters running around, we've got a player running around. And really, that's what I wanted to show in this tutorial.
Cool.
And being able to show, there's some other things that we could do. For instance, I could show you how to do like a text box. So this is a little bit funky, but what we'll do is I'm going to add a different color monster. He'll just be tall. So... just a tall guy like that, and we're going to call this guy NPC. And in object details, don't forget to set your bounding box. Probably like that. In your details, make him an NPC, and hit close. And he's just going to be chilling there. I'll save him, and I'm going to make a monster group, and it's going to have... Now you could mix and match these guys. Mixed monsters. They don't all have to be the same. And now I'm going to go to my overworld, and with this, instead of having these monsters, I'm going to disable all these guys for a second. For monster number 1, I'm going to load up... Well, first of all, let me make sure that my mixed monsters are loaded, and I'm going to change... He's going to look like that. He's going to... No, I'll make him the player color since he's an NPC. Be like the same color as the player. All right, so I'm going to load, and I'm going to put monster number 1 over off to the side. And monster number 1 was an NPC. Monster number 2 is not an NPC, and this is going to present a small weird issue because they use the same color palette. And don't forget, the screen is what sets the color palette, not the monster. So they're both using this color palette right here. So even the monster is going to be that color. But when I go to this guy, and right now the way that the text boxes are set up is when I press the B button, it's going to launch a text box. And the text box is going to be wherever I set this text box up. Now you got to be particular about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That should work. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You want to keep things on even numbers because the attributes are on a 2 by 2. The colors are on a 2 by 2 grid, not a tile by tile, but a 2 tile wide by 2 tile tall. So this is going to be where my text box is going to show up. And I haven't set up any text, but let's set up some text.
And
what
codes are still coming in, so that's interesting. There were a lot to go out. So.
Yeah, it's automatic, but that doesn't mean that cyberspace is going the speed of you guys. So
faster than cyberspace.
With the text box, real quick, you have to sort of keep track of how wide is this. So the text is going to start 1 over and 1 down. So I need text is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 letters on a line is about all I can get on a box this size.
Because the letters are 16 by 16
Letters
tiles.
are 8 by 8.
8 by 8.
Yeah. So I can get, 9 to about here on this text box.
Numbers
Hello.
are for, to let you know.
Am text. Let's just start with that. And we'll call this hello. And no action at the end. And I'm going to make a text group. And they all say hello. Now that guy was monster number 1 that I placed. So if I go back to my room now, where that is, and I look at my screen info, and I look at my monster, not there, I'm sorry. If I look at my monster placement, you can see what they'd all say if they were NPCs. This is the one that's actually sitting right there, this guy, number 1. I placed monster 1 right there. Mm-hmm. Number 1 in this text group says, hello, I am text. So let's take a look at that real quick. Now, what's going to happen is the sprites are going to continue to be drawn over the top of the text box and then disappear once it's drawn. I'm working on making them disappear first. I keep trying to use the keyboard to move. So let me go talk to my guy here. So it looks like we went over a little bit too far. So no problem. It's because it started 2 over, not 1 over. I miscounted. So that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my text, and I'm just going to put an enter right there. Hello, I am text. And I know some of you guys are going to have an immediate question. Can we make the text longer? Can we have... Yes, I'm going to show you that in 2 seconds. I am error. Yes. We've seen that a few times today. So good Zelda 2 reference and relevant to what we're doing here. So now... And you saw how quick I was able to sort of fix that as a problem. Let's say I wanted to say more than one text string. I want to say more than one. Not more than one string, but I wanted to give more text in this. It can only have 256 characters. If you know anything about 8-bit math, you know why. Now, there is a paradigm where we're going to be able to link text group or text strings together. Right now, that's not active, but you could. That's how you can get more than 256. For right now, though, if you look over here, it shows you how you can get those 4 user definitions that were in the HUD. It shows you how you can get an ellipses with only using 1 character instead of 3 periods. And more is what you want to use to get more. So I'm going to put a space and then greater than sign and then hit enter. And I can start writing, this is more text. Cool, eh? Okay, so let's check that out. And what will happen is the B button will activate the more text when I've gotten to that point in the text string.
Nice.
And then it restores. And this is what I was talking about it being on an even. So it maintained the color. So if that happens, you just have to either add 1 row or take away 1 row. If I take away one row and set that as a text box area, it's because of where the attributes lie.
Right. Because in the NES, you can have 8x8 sprites, but the palettes are applied on a 16x16 grid.
Right. And attributes are actually applied on a 32x32 grid.
Oh,
making
God.
it even more complicated. And
if you're translating your game to another language and need more than 26 letters for text space, well...
okay, that's where you would use what you could do is if you went to... You're only going to get so much, but you could make use of any of these. So if you don't need parentheses, you could use those as characters. If you don't need an ellipses or a dash or any of these user. So honestly, you could probably get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Probably get another 10 letters out of it. Now you're going to have to keep track of, you know, what each of those is, but that can get you 36 characters. You know, I mean, there's only so much you can do because otherwise you'd have to use more space for HUD graphics, which means less space for background graphics. If you do that and you're just translating, well, then you have to not use that spot for either version, and that's going to get really confusing. So anyway, I wanted to show you guys that's a lot. You know, I mean, we're beat. I'm sure you guys are tired. There's 33 of you guys still hanging tight with us. I know this wasn't much of a tutorial so much as it was just sort of showing off what the tool can do. I know there's some bugs. I know there's some things that are going funky. I know that some of you guys haven't gotten the code yet. I know there's a lot of chaos still happening here.
Can we flash it to a cartridge?
Can we flash it to a cartridge? Yes, we can. I think I can only flash it to a cartridge from my laptop because I don't think I installed the drivers on this computer.
All right.
But on my laptop, yes, I absolutely can. Do they want to actually see the flashing happen, or I don't know how to.
Yeah, you might have to log off here and log on in your laptop and do it that way.
It seems like there should be a way where I could just go here. And add but what is it? Display capture, image, slideshow, media source, scene, none of these.
Media source, video capture device. Do you have a webcam on here?
Hey! Wow, this whole time it was totally possible. That's crazy, huh? Do you guys see us in the corner here?
Oh, it's coming from there.
Yeah. Hi, for those of you who have never seen me before, I'm Joe Austin. I'm going to get my laptop in here and we'll try and actually flash what we've seen. That means we're going to have to set up a screen as well. I've got a little portable screen right here actually that we can use.
Okay. Shall I just hold it?
Yeah.
That'll be great.
I've got a top loader NES over here that we're going to have to figure out where we can plug it in.
I'm going to throw my phone on the ground. That's always a good thing.
So top loader NES that's got it's modded for HDMI output.
Wow. Wasn't counting on.
Also, man, this is going to be tricky. Because what I've got to do. Okay, so I'm going to save this project. Hopefully this.
Oh, because you're going to have to migrate it over to the laptop.
Right.
Naturally.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So thumb drive is plugged in still. So I'm going to take this whole folder, and I'm going to call it test 1, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to put it on my thumb drive. And I'm going to go get my laptop while that's transferring. I think the Nintendo's still actually plugged in here. Let's see, let's get that in there. And let me get the HDMI. And let's put something on here. Let's put, I think I got Super Mario 3 over here to show this.
Oh, we got Mystic Origins.
Let's put a game that they're familiar with first.
Fair enough. Okay.
So that should come up.
Yeah.
There you go. So if you want to try and play one-handed.
Beautiful. Oh, yeah. This is how I always play my games.
And there should be a volume somewhere. Actually,
Here we go. It's right behind the mic.
you can
Okay.
move, Mike.
What if I just put this there and this like here? This is gonna be great. Start. Yep. Yep, that's how he goes. No idea what's happening right now. Oh my god. World 1. Yeah. %71 complete.
Okay.
What?
The reason it takes so long to transfer is not because it's a huge file, it's because there's millions of little files. And so it takes a lot of time to write those lots of little files.
What do you press to start this game?
You press A to go into the world there. Right.
Oh, for God's sake.
That's amazing that you're...
Oh, yeah. One-handed. One-handed pause.
So, real quick, since we have that happening,
Uh-huh.
do we have a Mystic Origins card over here somewhere?
There, I feel like there's one right there in the, is that flashed? Right in the flasher?
Oh, no, that's
Oh, that's a blank?
That's what I'm using to... I mean, I've got this guy. Here is the first product as to why NESMaker exists. So in the Mystic sort of pantheon here, here's Mystic Origins, which was created with an earlier draft of NESMaker.
I don't know if you can see in the yeah. This one I may be able to play better one-handed. Yeah, can I talk to this guy? Oh, gone into music mode. Feels like the thing we were doing at Game Jam where we were like Skyping with two laptops facing each other.
Yeah.
So worst Twitch ever. What's happening? Oh yeah. All right.
Okay. So let me see if that all loaded okay.
All right. Can we see what you're doing here? Can you put that in front of the camera?
If you want to hold the flasher, well, this is going to get tricky.
All
Yeah,
right.
we'll put that down for a second. So that's the top loader. Oh shoot. Hold on.
Up here.
Nope, we're having errors.
Okay.
This is tricky. I don't know where. Let's see. Let's make sure the module is loaded okay. Let's try that one.
Never played Mario Brothers 3 before. Never backwards. Watching the screen in a webcam. That's a first.
I'm an idiot. So I'm trying to compile it and I'm getting an error. And the reason I'm getting an error is because I believe I still have to set up my emulator, because my emulator on my laptop is in a different place than it was on that computer. So I have to tell it where my emulator and where my file is. It compiled, but it had trouble opening it because it couldn't find the file, because my file structure on my laptop is different than my file structure on my laptop. So I'm going to find FCEUX, and then I'm going to navigate to that NES file, which was desktop. It was on this test here. So this is just me making sure that the game runs okay before I flash, because if it doesn't, there's no sense in flashing. So test, export and test.
This is the same thing we were doing before.
Right, so there we go.
Computer.
I don't know if you guys can see. That light is so bright, but yeah, so there's the game that we were just working on. And there's the guy that I was talking to, and I hit B. I'm not touching him yet. Now I'm touching him. There we go. Talk to him, text box comes up. This is more text, cool A. Okay, so it's working. Now, if Austin, if you want to hold that up. So this is a cart flasher with a reflashable cartridge. It was originally used, this cartridge, to show off early versions of Mystic Searches. Now I'm going to use it by, all I'm going to do is go to test, make cart. Oh, you can't see that at all. This is really hard to do here. Up at the top
cables
there.
are going to totally stay connected.
I don't know if I hit it or not. There we go. Yep. Okay. And then it compiled. And now it's flashing. Go ahead and pull the flasher over. Okay, it's flashing to that. It's hooked up. Oh,
you're all tied around here.
And we're setting start flash. It takes about 18 seconds. Flashing to that.
That's brand new as of this.
And it closed out on me. So I think it's done. Let's hope.
Okay. So we're going to pop this
hope that I didn't pull the USB cord out while we were flashing it. Okay.
Okay.
And there's our game that we created today. Playing on an actual cartridge.
Playing on a top loader. Sort of. It's right there.
Am I moving or I got the wrong remote? No, I got the wrong controller. There we go. Getting the key. Going over here. Talking to the dude.
Can you hold the controller up? Yes.
Going into the windscreen.
I have no idea what's happening right now.
Went to the wrong screen. But anyway. So that's it. Yeah. We're having a little trouble trying to hold all of the things in front of the webcam, but hopefully that gives you the idea. It was that quick and easy to create and flash and, you know, to get it to the cartridge and then playing it on actual hardware. And this will play on any hardware-based system. If it's an emulator-based system, case-by-case basis. So I apologize for that sort of Keystone Cops moment we had with the monitors and the flasher and stuff like that. But
that was completely unplanned.
Yeah. And I know that this was a long and often and a couple times confusing and a little bit sort of manic showcasing of the tool. But hopefully it gives you guys some insight as far as like what's going to be possible, how it can be grown, what's there is infinitely expandable. Like that's the idea that I want you guys to be left with, and how, you know, we had to jump into the code like 3 times in that entire thing and like write 6 lines of code, and we were able to get that level of functionality. Most of it was drag and drop, you know. So
you're not going to be making commercially releasable games next week,
nor in an hour and a half.
But
right?
you're going to get a lot closer to that than we did in a very short period of time.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this ridiculous couple of hours stint. If you think we should do more of these, definitely let us know. I think that the actual tutorial that you're going to get in a couple of days, I'm probably going to do from a hotel room in Phoenix this weekend, and that's going to be this compressed to 20 minutes and very regimented with any code updates that you need and any patches that you need visible and downloadable, and with the instructions of where to put them and stuff.
But hopefully, over the course of tonight and tomorrow, you'll get the software downloaded, you'll get the activation code all worked out, and you'll be ready to mess around with it this weekend.
So awesome. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to sign off. I'll be around Facebook. We are actually packing because we're going to be in Phoenix. I'm going to be in Phoenix. Austin's going to be in New Jersey at 2 different
Long Island.
Long Island. I was thinking of Jersey because we were going to make the Jersey Devil game.
Right.
Yeah, so he's going to be in Long Island. I'm going to be in Phoenix. And we're going to be at the conventions. And so it's going to be a crazy, crazy weekend. If we're a little bit kind of off the grid, that's why. But yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts and questions. And if you downloaded the software and you're like, what do I do? Don't freak out. Don't worry. Help is coming. Just give us a couple days to sort of get this thing going. We really appreciate all the patience and the support, guys.